meetings. The public may also participate by providing public comment in person. Public comment will be limited to 90 minutes total per item. The first 1 through 15 participants in the queue have 3 minutes to speak. The next 16 through 25 have 2 minutes. And if time remains, the next 26 plus participants have 1 minute to speak. For our hard of hearing residents present, we have wireless headsets available in the back of the council chambers from our AV team. The City Council regular meeting is called to order. Councilmember Marsh Holshan is attending remotely, and there are 10 council members in attendance, so a quorum of the council is present. Will everyone please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Other way.
Oh, I always forget. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. In an effort to keep order for tonight's meeting, I ask council members to limit their comments to 5 minutes. If council members are given an opportunity to speak for a second time, they should limit their comments to 2 minutes. And we'll plan on a 10-minute break at approximately 8 p.m. We'll begin with council's review and approval of this evening's agenda. Council may add or remove items from the consent agenda, or council may revise the order of business for the meeting. Does any member of the council have any comments or questions regarding this evening's agenda? Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you. I would like to remove item 6B from the consent agenda. That's
All
the
right.
outro I'm lighting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So item 6B will be reviewed as the first item under action items. Are there any objections to this agenda being approved as modified? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. The first item under petitions and communication, Broomfield Trail Adventure and kickoff for the Broomfield 100. Will our open space and trail staff representative here please come down to the podium and introduce yourselves and share your presentation?
Hello, thank you all so much for having me. My name is Lexi Brewer. I am an Open Space and Trails Coordinator for the City and County of Broomfield. And tonight I am here to talk about the Broomfield Trail Adventure and the Broomfield 100 Challenge. Next slide, please. So the Broomfield Trail Adventure first. This 2025 is the 24th annual celebration of the Broomfield Trail Adventure, which will take place on Saturday, June 7th this year. What is it? It is our National Trails Day celebration. So it's a local celebration in Broomfield of our trail system and our natural resources. This year, the event will be held at Columbine Meadows Park, which is at 12600 Hazel Street, and it will feature a new trail connection, which we're very excited about, as well as it will meander through the neighborhoods and connect to surrounding regional trails. The event will start at 8 a.m., but we will have booths that will be ready to talk to residents and welcome them at 7:30. Those booths include educational displays and tables, music, and giveaways that are all part of this free event. A lot of work went into this throughout many different departments and other nonprofits that are local. The CCOB collaboration includes parks, recreation, communications, public works, GIS, library, public health, and the police. Would like to give a special thank you to the communications department for making beautiful graphics and trying to promote this event to as many residents and local communities as possible too this year. Next slide, please. So with this is just a map of where the event will take place to try to get you all there. You can see Midway and Lowell. There's the Broomfield County Commons there to the north, Metzger Farm Open Space to the south, and it will be held there at Columbine Meadows Parks at Hazel Street and Meadow Avenue. Next slide, please. The Trail Adventure is a celebration of trails, so we do also feature a walking and biking route that will be led and swept by Broomfield volunteers and staff. So here's the walking loop. So we'll leave from the park. We do have that trail connection there that you can see that's new that we're helping to feature this year that connects residents to other parts of open space throughout the community. So we really want to highlight the great trails work that happens at CCOB and other connections that happen every year. And then we'll wind south through Metzger Farm Open Space before making our way back to the park. That loop is approximately 2.25 miles, but nothing is obligatory. We just hope to celebrate trails with everyone. Next slide, please. And this is our biking loop. So it's approximately 4.4 miles. And one request from council when I presented this last year was to feature regional trails and regional trail connections and how we're connected with other surrounding communities. So while doing that in the passport again this year, we also wanted to do that with our trail adventure. So here's what that route looks like. Again, we'll leave from the park, wind through Metzger Farm Open Space, and then we're collaborating with Westminster and featuring the beautiful Big Dry Creek Trail this year. Next slide, please. So the Broomfield Trail Adventure is also the kickoff of our Broomfield 100 Trail Challenge. And we do have our 2025 passports that you all received. They are hot off the press. They just came in this year, and they will be given away officially at our Broomfield Trail Adventure. So what is the Broomfield 100? So this is our 11th year. It is a community challenge to explore Broomfield via trails, outdoor features, and other community events. We do feature 15 trail loops and other outdoor destinations each year. We made a lot of improvements last year during its 10th year, and we want to continue to improve on that and do those again this year. So one of those is that the program is entirely bilingual. It's available in English and Spanish. There's also the printed maps, which you all received, and they're available in this building, at the recreation centers, and at the library after the event, as well as, of course, in person during the Broomfield Trail Adventure. And we also have interactive maps. So, you don't need the physical passport to participate. There is a way from our website to get to the interactive Google map that shows parking, trailhead check-in locations, and all sorts of amenities like bathrooms, which I always find important. So there is bilingual signage posted at each trailhead to allow users to check in, just a way to interact with us. That is in English and Spanish, and we encourage people to reach out to us to let us know how the trails are, how their experiences are. One request that we had from our Open Space Park Recreation Trails Plan update was to also feature virtual trail tours. So if residents had any hesitancy of accessing the trails, what those trails looked like, if they had any access issues, they wanted to see it ahead of time. So we did video every single one of those, and that will be available on the YouTube channel. And this event concludes at Broomfield Days. So bring your printed passport and turn it in for our coveted prize, which are these beautiful prairie dog socks that are new for this year. Yeah. And we also have last year's too, which we call the Broomfield Trekker, which is just going through trails and bicycles. So next slide, please. This is just a quick picture of everything that I just talked about. So physical passport, new socks, QR codes, videos, check-in stations, and our interactive map. Next slide, please. So with that, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Everything's posted on our website at broomfield.org/openspace for additional information. And otherwise, we hope to see you on June 7th and throughout the summer along the trails. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We are very excited. We do allow public comments. If anyone would like to speak on this item, you can. Any questions or comments from council? Well, I'll be there, and I'm going to be claiming my prairie dog socks. I love those socks so much. Thank you guys for all of the information and for all you do. I'm excited to check out the new trail too.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Gal, and your hood. All right, next, we have a proclamation declaring May 18th through 24th, 2025 as Public Works Appreciation Week. Will the staff here to accept the proclamation please make your way down to the podium and meet Mayor Pro Tem Schaaf. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. I see a lot of folks from our team. And I'm going to summarize the proclamation, and I'll turn it over to our representatives for comments. We got the whole crew? Well, not the whole crew, but a good chunk of the crew. This proclamation affirms that public works professionals are essential to the infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and the public health, a high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Broomfield. These services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of Public Works professionals who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our community's transportation, water supply, water treatment, solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential to our residents. The efficiency and dedication of Public Works staff is essential to the success and an integral part of our residents' everyday lives. Therefore, as mayor, I hereby declare and proclaim May 18th through 24th, 2025 as Public Works Appreciation Week in the city and county of Broomfield. I would like to give you all a round of applause. Would you like to say a few words and introduce your team if you want?
Sure. Ken Rutt, Director of Public Works. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Manager Hoffman. We appreciate the recognition from council, and we do want to take a little bit of time and let each one of these leaders of Public Works come and at least introduce themselves.
Yes.
And, it is really a wonderful partnership that we have between our city manager's office, our council, and our community, because without any of them, makes our job a little bit harder. And we do appreciate all the community, the engagement, and their eyes, because we can't be everywhere. So we do appreciate their engagement with us. And we look forward to many opportunities to share through our Public Works and Water Utility Academy coming up. And we'll be looking to repeat that. So if you haven't got signed up, I think most of the registrations are full, but we'll do it again and give you another opportunity. So thank you again. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Rutt.
And Jeff Ruger, Deputy Director of Public Works, Council, Mayor Pro Tem. June 7th is one of our academies, so we're in competition right now with the trail group.
There's a lot of events on that day. There's brouhaha. It's a busy one.
It's a busy day, so
Yeah.
we'll all be hopping. I was hoping to get a pair of socks myself.
Hi, my name is Leah Gadd, and I am the Stormwater Superintendent.
Wonderful.
Hello, my name's Lawana Melvin, and I'm the Superintendent of Custodial Maintenance.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Anzulis, Senior Operations Manager.
Hello, I'm Dennis Rodriguez, Water Recovery Facility Superintendent.
Hi, I'm Lisa Julian. I'm the Water Quality Superintendent. Nice to see you guys.
Thank you. Nice to see you too.
Good evening. Jill Johnson, Facility Services Superintendent.
Good evening. My name is Jesse Alberts. I'm the Street Maintenance Superintendent.
Thank you.
I'm Sean DeSoto, Superintendent, Utilities, Distribution, and Collections.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Justin Munt. I'm the Deputy Director of Public Works.
Good evening, Garrett McDaniel, Sustainability Manager.
Good evening, Cassie Morgan, Senior Operations Manager.
Rhonda Jo Ackerman Alford, I'm the CIP Construction Superintendent.
Sven Evelsizer, Fleet Maintenance Superintendent.
Scott Thorson, Water Plant Superintendent.
Hello, I'm Mark Laurie, Superintendent of Water Resources.
Good evening, Council. I'm Ryan Resch, Superintendent of the Energy and Environment Division.
Thank you all so much for coming here tonight. I would like to invite the public, if anyone would like to comment on this proclamation, you have an opportunity. Make your way to the podium.
Hi, Roxy Jula Lockmore. It is a pleasure to have all of you here tonight and knowing how much work that you do to keep this city and county running as smoothly as it can. I actually see a whole lot more of the laborers out in the field than I do all of these superintendents. I don't see very many of them very often. So it would have been nice if you at least had one or two of your laborers here. That's my side of the house. That's all I've ever been. So, but on the other side of it, without you, I guess they wouldn't have a job either. So thank you very much for taking care of us.
Oh, thank you. Would anyone on council like to comment? Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up, Mr. Carlos. I didn't see you.
Bill Crothers, Northmore. I think we have a academy thing coming up this weekend. Is that correct? For the tour of the water facility plant. So if anybody hasn't signed up yet, there might still be some spots left.
Thank you for that. Anyone on council? Mayor Pro Tem Schaaf, I know you're.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Mayor, I still remember when we began this annual proclamation to honor and recognize our public works crew. The idea came about following one of the winters with a really heavy, nasty snowstorm. It was a snowstorm in which our crew was out there day and night moving snow, and it was pretty incredible that because of that, our city and county continued to operate day in and day after. So, it seems then we continue to have more snow. So thank you for continuing to move that. But also we continue to have issues in terms of valve maintenance, in terms of pipelines, and you guys continue to address those, critical infrastructure in our community and making sure that the city and county of Broomfield continues to move forward. So thank you to all of you that showed up. Thank you to our entire public works crew for keeping in the city and county of Broomfield great. Thank you.
Well said. Anyone else? Today I hosted the Emerald Elementary second graders on a field trip. So they came to the chambers and had lots of questions. And one of the questions was, is it hard to work here? And I thought of Public Works. That was the first department that came to mind. They don't punch a clock. They have to be ready to go if there's any type of emergency. And if it snows, that means getting up in the middle of the night to go start clearing the road. So I think they really got an understanding too of the complexities of all of the things that we provide to our residents that you don't really notice when it's all going well, but you certainly know when it isn't. So thank you for many, many, many more times of it going well. And thank you so much for your service and dedication to Broomfield. We appreciate you. All right, I don't know if you guys want to stay for the next one, but we'll continue on. Next, under petitions and communications, is a proclamation declaring June 2025 as Aging Well Awareness Month and Elder Abuse Awareness Day in Broomfield. Will the representatives here to accept the proclamation please make their way down to the podium with and meet Mayor Pro Tem Schaaf? We'll give the superintendents a chance to file out. That tells you how big that department is, right? I mean, these are just the superintendents. How many employees do we have total in Public Works? Do you know offhand, ballpark?
264.
264, wow. Awesome. Thank you for knowing that. All right, sorry. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'll summarize the proclamation and then I'll turn it over to you guys for some remarks. This proclamation recognizes June 15th as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, established in 2006 by the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse to support the United Nations International Plan of Action and raise awareness of elder maltreatment as a serious public health and human rights issue. With the global population over age 60 expected to surpass younger people by 2050, elder abuse is a growing concern that affects people across all backgrounds and can cause lasting harm, often worsened by social isolation. The City and County of Broomfield affirms its commitment to protecting older adults through its Adult Protective Services program led by the Child, Adult, and Family Services Division with the Department of Human Services. This work is supported by strong partnerships with senior services, the library, self-sufficiency, and the police department. Therefore, as mayor, I hereby declare and proclaim June 2025 as Aging Well Awareness Month in Broomfield and invite all residents to use the month of June to raise awareness to the importance of connection to increase resiliency and prevent adverse outcomes for our aging community. So thank you all for being here tonight. Would you like to make any comments?
Hello all, thank you very much for allowing us this opportunity and this wonderful moment to celebrate our elders in our community in June of 2025. Thank you, council members. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, city and county managers, and our legal representatives. We really appreciate your guys' time and this opportunity. My name is John Moran. I'm the city and county of Broomfield's primary adult protection caseworker. So I often work with folks in very difficult situations, and I'm joined here with our lovely Christopher Dewhurst from Human Services as well. We'd like to point out that this is something that is recognized in the month of June, but we do not have a single moment where we lapse in our focus on our child and adult family services team. We are looking out each and every day, 24/7 for our elders and our at-risk adults. We try our best to keep our ear to the ground, but we do ask our community members, our professionals, our community partners that Mayor has alluded to earlier to continue to inform us and work with us as best as you can and keep us up to speed. Without y'all, we cannot do some of the great work that we try and do, which is keeping our seniors in the community, living a safe life as long as they like to. I think that's something we all, as city and county of Broomfield residents and individuals who work for the county, would like to do. We love living here. We love working here. We like playing here. I think we all want to age gracefully and successfully, and most importantly, safely. That's a little bit different for everyone, but if there's some issues, please feel free to give us a call and let us know. Our hotline is available 24/7. Once again, thank you for this tremendous opportunity, and we really enjoy the privilege to work with our community partners and help serve our local adults. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, Chris Dewhurst, Deputy Director of Human Services. And I just want to thank you for the proclamation and acknowledgement. And I just want to give a shout out to the team that does this work and helps to convene partners, work with partners, and ultimately provide protection for those that need it. A wonderful example is Mr. John Moran, dedicated, compassionate, and professional. And so, again, appreciate this honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anyone like to provide public comments on this item? Anyone from council, colleagues? Councilmember Henkel?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to show my appreciation for what you do and what so many people don't really think about, how our aging population is going to increase by quite a bit here very, very soon, and is increasing. It's going to be one of our largest populations in population growth. So I just want to really appreciate the behind the scenes work that you do and just really caring for our elders. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate you all joining us this evening for this important proclamation. Thank you. Our final item under petitions and communications is a proclamation declaring May 2025 as Mental Health Awareness Month. Will the representatives here to accept the proclamation please make your way to the podium and meet Mayor Pro Tem Schaaf. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I'll summarize the proclamation and then I'll turn it over to our representatives for comments. This proclamation affirms that mental health remains a top concern for Broomfield residents, as identified in both 2019 and 2024, with local and state data showing continued need for care, highlighted by nearly 25% of high school students reporting persistent sadness and over 10% considering suicide in 2023. Broomfield has dedicated over $2.5 million in behavioral health funding from various sources, including opioid resettlement funds, retail marijuana funds, state grants, city funds, and nonprofit grant funds. A strong multi-sector partnership is driving a comprehensive behavioral health plan, including CCOB departments, Community Reach Center, and Clinic of Family Health and Wellness. Local nonprofit organizations, hospitals, local school districts, Colorado Community Health Alliance, Metro Area Public Health and Human Service agencies, and our state partners. As part of this effort, The Communities That Care Coalition aims to influence underlying factors that contribute to and protect against youth substance abuse. And the state of Colorado's I Matter program has provided free therapy to nearly 300 Broomfield youth. Therefore, as mayor, I hereby declare and proclaim May 2025 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Broomfield. Would our representatives like to make any comments or introduce themselves?
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. Thanks for having us tonight. My name is Gretchen Smith, and I work for Broomfield Public Health and Environment, where I coordinate our Communities That Care Coalition, which aims to prevent youth substance use and improve youth mental well-being in our community. Thank you for the opportunity to highlight youth mental health in our community as we declare May as Mental Health Awareness Month in Broomfield. This year, we'd like to share some of the things that are happening in the community to improve youth mental health. We know that mental health is a top concern among Broomfield residents, including for youth. According to our latest data from the 2023 Healthy Kids Colorado survey, almost a quarter of high school students report persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness, and 11% seriously considered attempting suicide. Youth mental health has been a growing concern, especially during and following the COVID-19 pandemic, and remains a priority for our work in public health today. The good news is that these measures of youth mental health have improved from previous years. Youth are a priority population in Broomfield for our public health improvement plan, as well as the focus of Communities That Care. CTC, or Communities That Care, is dedicated to improving youth mental health and reducing youth substance use through proactive, community-driven strategies. We also have an active youth advisory group, Youth for Youth, that does amazing work to promote youth mental health as well. You can learn more about that in your memo, but we also wanted to recognize some other organizations that are working to improve mental health in the community, including some that came to be recognized today. I believe we have Broomfield Municipal Courts, B Corps Co-Responders, and Antelope Recovery. And then we also know that some of our groups working to improve youth mental health are youth themselves. So we brought a few of them here just to summarize some of their work. We're going to start with Broomfield High School Sources of Strength.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm our group's vice president. We'll do introductions really fast, and then she'll share a little bit about what we do.
Hi, my name is Sophia Tabor, and I'm a senior at Broomfield.
Hi, my name is Ava Teufel, and I'm a sophomore, and I've been a member of the Sources of Strength Club at Broomfield High School for 2 years now. I'm here tonight to share a little bit about who we are, what we do, and why it matters. Sources of Strength is more than just a club, it's a movement. Our mission is to spread hope, help, and strength into every corner of our school community. We focus on building protective focus around students so they have the resilience and support they need to navigate life's struggles, whether it be stress, anxiety, bullying, or mental health issues. We work through a peer-led model where students just like me lead campaigns and initiatives that connect others to real-life sources of strengths in their lives. These things include events at our school that we use to put around to spread awareness, posters advocating for healthy habits, and segments in our school news. The idea is that by focusing on what makes us strong, we can prevent crises before they can happen. Our mission is to create a school where every student feels valued, connected, and empowered to reach out for themselves and others. In a time where youth mental health is a growing concern, Sources of Strength is our way for showing up for each other. We believe that strength is not just about being tough, it's about being connected, being kind, and having the courage to speak up, no matter how hard your fight might be. Thank you for giving us the support to be heard and the opportunity, and thank you to the Broomfield community for supporting our mission.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I am Jessica Vance. I am a lead representative of the SOS, also known as Sources of Strength, along with Audrey Rosen here. Every month, our group at our school gets like a wheel of all the sources of strength. So our wheel, we have different objectives of like what we do. And every month we like spin it and connect it to that month. And then we have like gift bags and stuff we give out so we can just make everyone in our community feel more connected. Our main goal is to make sure all our peers are seen, supported, and safe.
Good evening. I'm Audrey Rosen, and I want to touch on a little bit about what our club does for everyone at our school. Sources of Strength isn't just about spreading mental health awareness, it's spreading inclusivity. Every single month, like she said, we do different subjects. For example, our most recent month, we did family, and we don't just include the students and the staff, we include topics like religion, sex, gender, etc., to make sure everyone can feel welcomed and included. These subjects affect mental health, and people need to realize that these subjects can really like make or break a student's ability to be happy and comfortable in a school setting. And the more we talk about it, the less stigmatized it can be. Sources of Strength is about creating a school culture where mental health is taken seriously and no one feels alone. That's why this club matters. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Ashika, and I'm a high school senior, and I'm here representing the Youth Advisory Council with the Broomfield Community Foundation. And we're a group of high school students working to improve the Broomfield community. And each year we decide on an issue that's important to us. And we fundraise throughout the year to support local nonprofits related to that issue. So this year we've chosen to focus on youth mental health because as youth ourselves, that's an issue that really resonates with us, seeing our peers struggle with issues like depression and anxiety or substance abuse and not having the resources to help them. So throughout the year, we've interacted with many mental health related organizations within Broomfield, and we've chosen 4 organizations to receive our grants from the funds we've raised this year. And so those organizations are Rise Above, Rise Against Suicide, the Broomfield Early Childhood Council, and Cultural Brokers Advocates. And we're confident that these organizations, with our funds, can reach out to more teens and help them have the confidence to discuss their mental health issues and improve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brooklyn Winchester, and I am this year's Miss Broomfield Teen for the Miss America organization. With the Miss America organization, we're given the opportunity to create a community service initiative. And this year, I decided that I wanted my community service initiative to be about finding a purpose. Because as a young kid, I often struggled with mental health, and I found that, like a lot of the others were saying, that there's a very large lack of resources for young kids struggling with their mental health. And so I've kind of made it my mission this year to be able to spread awareness about youth mental health and get connected in my community. One of the ways that I've done this is by writing and publishing the book, The Journey of a Kite. And I've been able to use this book as my platform to be able to connect with different kids through organizations like Whiz Kids and Reading for Peace. This year has just been an amazing opportunity for me to be able to meet with kids in our local community and really see the impacts of mental health on all of our youth. So thank you everybody for having me, and it's an honor to be here along with all my peers who are such eloquent speakers. Thank you.
All right, I want to just leave you all with a reminder to encourage youth and adults to refer to the state's iMatter program, where youth can receive therapy for free. You can visit imattercolorado.org for more information. Thanks for having us all. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for being here. This was wonderful. Thank you. Would anyone in our audience like to make any comments or remarks? What about anyone on council? Councilmember Henkel?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, youth, for coming in. I used to be a high school teacher and middle school teacher, and those years are just so rough. I have a high school kid right now, and I'll never forget when we had some cluster suicides in Westlake Middle School, and it was really devastating. our whole community gathered together to figure out like what we can do. And it was amazing just to see how much peer support that these kids wanted to provide each other. You all listen to each other much more than you do the adults. Like my daughter won't even let me use the word quirky about our dog. She's like, that's like defamatory. You can't call him quirky. I don't understand it. I'm not really with it with all the language now, but she really stands up for, what's right, and language matters. How you interact with other people matters. And now she wants to go to school to become work in mental health, especially with athletes, and use pet therapy as that as well. So the youth has just really inspired us. And so thank you so much for coming tonight.
Councilmember Nguyen.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to emphasize our thanks and appreciation for being here. There's been obviously a lot of stigma for mental health, especially over the years, and seeing y'all here tonight on a Tuesday before, I assume, finals or for, graduation ceremonies. I really appreciate y'all being here. So thank you so much. It means a lot, and keep doing what you're doing because this is an important issue for everyone. So thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Shah.
Thank you, Mayor. So in one of the healthiest states in the nation and one of the healthiest cities in Colorado, we Broomfielders have shown that taking care of our bodies through healthy food and exercise is a benefit. I can personally tell you the benefits of also taking care of our minds and mental health as well. It was during the pandemic that I had a conversation with a colleague about the stress, anxiety, and the panic attacks that I was experiencing. This colleague encouraged me to seek out a mental health professional to discuss these symptoms and underlying causes in my life. This connection with this colleague provided me the motivation to seek help. The hardest part about my journey was actually scheduling that first appointment. Once I started my journey to improve my mental health, I found myself more stable, more resilient, and more optimistic. If you are someone that is debating whether to schedule or not schedule a meeting, schedule it, do it. There are people in this community and in your life that want you here, that care about you, and want you to live without pain and without discomfort. So please schedule that appointment and get started on improving your mental health and your mind for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just feel like this is coming at such a timely moment. I actually attended the Rise Against Suicide 5K last week and heard the stories of so many families who had lost friends and loved ones to suicide. And I think removing the stigma of asking for help is so important to notice and to say, it's okay to not be okay. I was very proud of our community and many of the folks here that participated in our Let's Talk About It program a few years ago, where a lot of us recorded videos to be shared with the community about our struggles with mental health issues, whether it be addiction or depression or anxiety. And by putting ourselves out there, removing that stigma that it's a bad thing to not have your stuff together, because we're all going through things. We are all going through it, and the first time you take that chance and tell somebody, I need help. Let's make it okay. Let's normalize us talking about it. And I thank you all for helping get the word out and talking to your peers. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you're doing. All right, thank you. Next, we're going to move on to council member reports. Does any member of council have any reports tonight? Mayor Pro Tem Shah.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'll really try not to talk a whole lot tonight, but I am excited to share that Broomfield High School's girls soccer team is moving forward in the 5A state soccer playoffs. Last night, in a thrilling win over second seed Cherry Creek, the Eagles secured a spot in the semifinals for this Thursday night that will take place at the University of Denver. They'll face Castleview High School at 7:30 p.m. Please help us fill the stands for our local soccer team girls. Thank you.
Good job. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Councilmember Henkel.
Thank you. Not as exciting, but just as exciting to us up here on the dais. Yesterday, the mayor and I celebrated House Bill 1227, the Construction Defects Bill, which really brings high-quality condominiums here in Colorado. We have many housing builders that just quit building condominiums because they were getting sued out of existence. And we want to really make sure that we build safe and effective condominiums for people. And we also want to make sure that our home builders have a space where they feel free to do so. So we're excited about the homeownership as a possibility. It'll tailor really nicely with our first-time mortgage for home buyer program, and also those who want to age into a condo. So I'm super excited about that. And then Governor Polis today also signed Senate Bill 25161, transit reform, and Senate Bill 030, increased transportation mode choice. And today we just talked about how important it is to increase transportation, not only in Broomfield, but as a region, and increase connectivity. And we need to do that by working with all partners. So all jurisdictions, RTD, we are known for giving a lot of money and not receiving a lot in return. So I'm excited about having more modal choice in Broomfield, more stops, and more connectivity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it was a week and a half ago, I sat on the National Association of Counties Health Policy Committee, our monthly meeting. And I just want to give a couple updates related to what's happening with Medicaid. So Medicaid is under the purview of the House Energy and Commerce Committee when it comes to taxation, since all taxation has to start with the House of Representatives. They are expecting to have, at least at the time, they were expecting to have a markup for proposed bills this week, actually. In short, they're still short of their $800 billion savings out of that department that the administration and House leadership have been calling for. The latest proposals from Congress so far have scaled back some of the stuff that was talked about at the NACO conference in DC, but it looks like per capita caps on Medicaid expansion population funding is likely going to be coming into play. Which will just reduce overall benefits to people who rely on the expansion program under the Affordable Care Act. And then under the Medicaid expansion recipients, they will also have work requirements. Also no mention of any money going to counties to administer those work requirements. And implementing work requirements seems to only be saving about $100 billion over the course of 10 years. But it is cutting benefits to millions who will likely face increased housing and food insecurity, and maybe even end up homeless or worse. And then there is an increased threshold for the poverty line for able-bodied adults, because under the Medicaid expansion program, there are different benefits for those who are able-bodied so they can work. It looks like we're increasing that to about $20,000 for a family of 4. And that's it. Just want to give you that update. It's still kind of in flux, but we'll see what the House comes up with maybe this week.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you. Any other council member reports? All right, moving on. We'll now continue with public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on matters other than those listed on the agenda or elsewhere on the agenda. If there's anyone who would like to be heard, please come to the podium, state your name and neighborhood for the record, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
I'm Sandy Anderson, the Broadlands Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city leadership staff. Sorry for my voice. I'll be reading from an LTE published in the Broomfield Enterprise and signed by Councilman Anderson on March 18th, 2025. As Broomfield City Council members, we are elected to represent our community and serve with integrity, aligning with the mission of Broomfield, which demands that council members hold themselves to the highest standards, both in conduct and in communications. In addition, our council rules and procedures require respect for fellow council members. staff, and constituents, including appropriate media use. This respect extends beyond council meetings to all interactions. Regrettably, these standards have not been upheld. After months of unanswered questions, my constituent, Dwayne Weber, raised concerns about the Broomfield Resettlement Task Force in a February 23rd letter to the editor. Councilmember Heidi Henkel, who also serves as executive director, an organization under Broomfield Community Foundation, did not respond to this letter, continuing her pattern of non-response to numerous prior emails regarding transparency of BRTF and BCF. Her LTE continues basically calling a resident a liar. This LTE clearly violates the rules and the reasons set forth for censure, which is treating our residents, employees with dignity, respect, and equity. As a council, we adhere to our council rules and procedures within Live's rules of conduct for council. Leave personal agendas to achieve best outcomes for Broomfield. Treat fellow council members, staff, and all persons appearing before council with respect. I hold each of you that either initiated or voted for the previous censure to be accountable to the fairness and equity required now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James Einoff. I'm one of the elected directors of Skystone Community Association, governing body of an age-restricted community of over 950 elderly Broomfield voters that was built starting just over 10 years ago with the approval and enthusiastic support of this council. I'm here to ask for your help. 3.5 years ago, this council approved a memorandum of understanding between the city and county of Broomfield and our association. That agreement dealt with the conversion of existing irrigation and electrical systems in certain city parks. Section 4.8 of that agreement specifically states, and I quote, "The parties agree to work together on the conversion design so as to minimize the financial impact to the association." Last year, at the start of what will be a 3 or 4 year project, the city blatantly violated that agreement, taking possession of over $75,000 of association property in direct violation of Colorado law and forcing the homeowners of Skystone to spend nearly $36,000 additional dollars to restore irrigation to areas of our property that were simply cut off by the city without regard for our previous agreement. Rather than fight for our rights in court or raise a ruckus in the media, we have asked the city attorney to sit down with us and negotiate an amendment to the existing memorandum of understanding. The response of City Attorney Carl Front has been to refuse to discuss the matter. The response of your Department of Parks, Recreation, and Senior Services has been to forge ahead without regard for the terms of the existing memorandum. These people work for you. I'm here to ask you, please, to instruct the city attorney to stop stonewalling and negotiate in good faith with our attorney. I'm asking you, please, to instruct the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Senior Services to comply with the terms of the existing MOU, and as stated in that document, work together on the conversion design so as to minimize the financial impact to the association. I don't think these two things are too much to ask, and I hope you will agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Einoff.
Hello, Bill Crothers again. I didn't address anyone last time. I apologize. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, and city staff. I have 2 questions tonight. First one involves, I take it next week, we're supposed to find out about the survey. We're supposed to start getting results on the survey that was given out. I see that they've made it a study session. Does that mean that citizens will not be able to ask any questions or have any input into the results of the survey?
It will be published a week in advance, so you can email questions or call your.
Okay, just not at the meeting though.
Not during the study
Okay.
session.
First one. Second one, again, kind of alluding to what the lady earlier said. I have a question about this new survey that's coming out about the Stability Task Force, asking City Council to approve $20,000 for a survey. And I have not been able to find out, was that approved? Did the City Council give that task force $20,000 for the survey?
I believe yes.
We did. And why is that? Because it supposedly, all I hear is it's nothing to do with City Council. This has nothing to do with the city at all, but you guys gave them $20,000. Why?
Well, just to go back to public comment is typically not a question and answer session. So
Right.
if you have questions,
Oh,
you can
okay.
call one of us, you can email one of us and get answers.
Okay.
But to that point, we were going to put it in our survey. And then we decided to take it out of our survey and do a separate survey. So we offered to pay for the survey that they were going to conduct because we weren't.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted an answer.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Nancy Smart. I've lived in Broomfield for 12 years now in Anthem Ranch. Before that, 20 years in Littleton. And I want to address my letter to the mayor and the City Council. I'm writing to express my concerns regarding the stance this mayor and City Council of Broomfield has taken on flying a pride flag for the month of June yearly. As a resident of Broomfield, I believe this matter warrants changing your position, and I'm writing to share my perspective. I disagree with this decision. I share many residents' surprise at seeing this flag flown in recent years. When I raised concern with a city office employee, she said, well, Broomfield isn't paying for them. They were donated. And my question is, well, what does that have to do with it? Should I assume that if my family wants to donate and hang a "Don't Tread on Me" flag, an Israeli flag, a Christian flag, or a Palestinian flag, then the city of Broomfield has an obligation to do so? I would like to know who's behind the donating of the flags and obligation, and the members of the City Council who voted for it. You as City Council members are elected to run our city as representatives of all of the citizens of Broomfield. Some of you have made this decision that only reflects a very small percentage of citizens. We don't need pride flags to communicate that all people are welcome to our city. It is given that all are welcome. A city should be politically neutral. You are using your personal views to push your agenda. The mayor and city council have no right to push their agenda on the citizens of an entire town. Personally, I would never think of proposing the idea to Broomfield to hang a flag that promotes my personal, religious, or cultural beliefs because it's a personal matter. I would like to propose to the council and mayor the idea that you can fly as many of the pride flags on your own homes or in your own yards, as that will be showing your personal beliefs. I would encourage the city council to revisit this issue. Thank you for your time. I hope that you will carefully review my concerns and work toward a solution that best serves the needs of our entire community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. God bless you. Good evening, council. I always come to the podium to speak to the council with great respect. I don't always have the nicest of things to say, but it's always with nice respect and positive, hopeful outcome. One of the things that I've been concerned about, which I'm sure you know, I got this in with my water bill, tells me I can only water so many days a week and so many hours a week. And while that may be a good idea, I mean, just for conservation, what really puzzles me is how the council continues to approve over and over and over more building, more people, more demand on our resources, water, roads, all of it. While the money coming in may be great, It can't mitigate if we're already running out of water, can't mitigate making water up out of air. So how do you square that? That's one. Another is the number of building fiascos, if you will, the first bank building being built, neglected, with millions of dollars still owed on it, torn down, paying millions of dollars to tear it down, and now we have dirt. So now we're still paying on air. I don't understand that logic. Let me preface all of this too. At one time, I was president of an HOA. Nothing like what you serve. You have so much more responsibility, but it's similar. It's other people's money. It's other people's interests. It's their life. So you have a great responsibility. When I left the HOA, I left $400,000 to $500,000 in the bank for them. We never raised their dues. So I understand the balancing act, but I'm still really concerned with the building and the building a new police building, another, the Safeway. When is it? And then we're in the hole. We're $100 or $1 million in the hole for next year. I don't understand how you don't pause everything and take another valuation. And the other thing, we as homeowners, we don't have the luxury of having our in-house attorney and manager to CYA. We have to kind of figure out, and a lot of people just say, I'm no match to it. So I wish you and hope you will respect the constituents more, think about our pocket, because it will. All of it runs out of money soon if we don't start thinking much more prudently. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, staff. My name is Jesse Applegate, Country Estates. I do believe you should continue flying pride flags. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to be heard? All right, then. Next, under reports, staff will provide the council with a legislative update. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize. Hi, Ms. Brouillard. Oh, what? Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. Can you hold that thought 1 second? Councilmember Anderson?
Thank you. Is it okay if I take a moment of personal privilege? All right. So thank you for giving me this moment of personal privilege to address a recurring request from Sandy Anderson, who has repeatedly been calling for my censure via email and public comment for almost 2 months now. As a matter of governance, it is important to clarify that only council members may bring forth a motion for censure. To date, and after repeated requests from Ms. Anderson, none of my colleagues has introduced such a motion, reinforcing that this request does not have support within our council. These repeated assertions regarding censure can cause confusion for members of the public who are not following printed and social media closely, and only distracts from the meaningful work we are all committed to doing for our community. This request for censure stems from my March 16th letter to the editor, in which I made reference to a March 2nd letter to the editor by Council Member Henkel's spouse, Scott Henkel. The letters can speak for themselves. The work we do as council members should remain focused on addressing the needs of our constituents, not on distractions that detract from meaningful dialogue. My hope is that we can continue to prioritize constructive discussions that help move Broomfield forward. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Back to our legislative update with Ms. Brouillard.
The floor is yours. Thank you, Manager Hoffman. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. Danae Brouillard, Director of Strategic Initiatives and Governmental Affairs. This will be the easiest legislative presentation that I give, as I'm going to hand it over to our contract lobbyist, Bowditch Castle Public Affairs. Before handing it over to them, I did just want to mention 2 housekeeping items. One is that a bigger legislative debrief will come in July, at the July 29th study session. So as you know, the session just ended last week, so we need a little bit of time to let the dust settle and determine impact. And we'll come back and talk about what worked, what didn't work, and what council would like to see in the interim and for the 2026 session. So I just wanted to let you know that that will be forthcoming in the future. And then I also wanted to mention that tonight's presentation I know looks different than probably what you saw in the folder on Friday. It's been updated for the residents as well in the presentation folder for reference. And with that, I'll pass it over to BCPA.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having us here. We appreciate the invitation. We will give you a kind of an overview of what happened this legislative session, as well as discuss some of the bills that we engaged on and some of the successes and things that we had. And yes, one more, please. Oh, yeah. Go ahead and click quite a few times because we got a lot of transitions in the PowerPoint. My apologies. So the legislature did adjourn last Wednesday. They had 120 days to meet, so they did wrap up all of their work last Wednesday. To set the stage a little bit and give a little bit of an overview so that you kind of understand some of those bills that were introduced and that did pass, we're operating under the Democratic trifecta. So we've got the House and the Senate under Democratic control, and then Governor Polis is a Democrat as well too. We had roughly 23 new members of the legislature this year. Most of those new members were in the House. Of those new members in the Senate, a lot of them came from the House. So they had a lot of institutional knowledge already, know how to compromise on bills, know how to negotiate, those kind of things. And then I will make a note, it's not up there, but this was actually the first time in Colorado that there were more women serving than men in the legislature. Total of 657 bills were introduced. The governor has taken action on 223 of those, though now that the legislative session is over, he is under the 30-day clock, meaning he has 30 days to sign, veto, or let any law become, or let any bill become law without his signature. His deadline for that is June 7th. So there's still quite a bit of activity out there as he contemplates bills, whether or not he wants to sign or veto them. Go ahead and for the next slide. Some of the themes that we saw this legislative session, there were very limited funds. Ed's going to talk a little bit about some of the impacts that the budget deficit had, especially on local governments. So quite limited. And I quite frankly think that we saw fewer bills because of there just wasn't any money to introduce certain bills. Yeah. State overreach. The state, kind of interesting, the state thinks that more and more issues should be dictated by the state rather than by local governments, whether that's a city or a county. So we did see a lot of bills that required local governments do certain things, right? And then federal action and reaction. The legislature did introduce a few bills to ensure that Colorado and its residents wouldn't be impacted necessarily by some things that are happening at the federal level right now. Specifically, there was a voting rights bill that was passed to enshrine minority rights as it relates to voting, as well as having some transgender rights as well in the state. And next slide, please. Some of those hot topics that we saw, and some of these are just repetitive. We see them almost every session, but housing continues to be a hot topic, or rather I should say maybe the lack of affordable and attainable housing and building more housing in general. Transit and transportation, how are we going to move more people in the state, especially with our population increasing? Workers' rights, labor unions, pro-worker advocates have certainly been more forceful down at the Capitol over the past couple of years. So we continue to see those types of bills introduced, one of which did pass, the Labor Peace Act, which makes it a little easier to unionize here in the state. And that is actually on the list of a potential governor veto, which would kind of pit the governor and the legislature, right? And then elections and voting, there were some further rights enshrined for voting rights with minority groups, but also the legislature did tackle the issue of vacancy committee appointments. Just after the 2024 election, we had 3, and then another member of the legislature stepped down. And so vacancy committees had to appoint those members. Right now, about maybe a third of the legislature has been appointed by the members rather than elected by citizens. So the legislature did tackle that as it relates to having those individuals who have been appointed to have to run that next election year. Next slide, please. An overview, just kind of, I don't know, some fun things that Ed and I come up with. Winners and losers of the legislative session. Messaging bills. after every election, there's usually legislators think they have a mandate to do certain things and to run certain bills. And certainly they did this year on very hot topic, very hot social issues. A lot of those bills did pass. Higher education was a surprising winner along with K-12 education in that those were the only two state departments that received increased funding. With the budget deficit that the state faced, the $1.1 billion budget deficit, higher education and K-12 were able to receive increased funding. We finally saw a construction defect bill pass, right? After many years, right? Finally saw a construction defect bill pass, got that over the finish line. If we look at some of the losers, local governments, again, this falls back on the state overreach, where the state wants to mandate local governments do a lot of things, how they regulate food trucks, how they permit cell phone towers, solar applications, how stairs are built in new multifamily construction homes, those kind of things. So a lot of overreach with local control. We put the legislature on there because this year, the legislature had an opportunity to override 2 of Governor Polis's vetoes, one on social media and another one on CORA, the Colorado Open Records Act. The legislature failed to override both of those vetoes, even though both of those bills did pass with more than 2/3 majority in both chambers. And then we did put construction defect on the loser list as well, simply because according to some folks, it didn't go far enough. One piece that was missing in the construction defect bill was trying to address the insurance issue. And how do we get insurance costs to go down so that we can, really have a robust market of building these multifamily homes for ownership, homes for those lower income individuals, right? So both a winner and a loser. Next slide, please. Oh, I'm going to have Ed talk a little bit about the state budget in one more slide.
Thank you, Jennifer. As Jennifer mentioned, the state was dealing with a very large budget deficit this year. On about a $17 billion general fund base, they started the year $1.1 billion in the hole due to a variety of factors. How did this end up impacting local governments? Well, after the session, the Colorado Municipal League estimated that local governments lost a total of approximately $139 million. Some of the specific reductions on individual local governments won't be known for a few more weeks at least. But as an example, I know the city and county of Broomfield has received money from the state severance tax fund. This legislative joint budget committee signed a contract to re-up with the digital trunked radio system for $15 million a year, and they're using money from the severance tax fund. The local government associations were not happy about that. But again, the Joint Budget Committee felt like we don't have the general fund. They were looking around for other monies they could use for that. That's one example. Another one, permanent reduction in the state share back of retail marijuana revenues, tax revenues, and then some other things as well. Again, some reductions in the state monies for transportation, the Department of Transportation as well. We won't know the specific impacts for a few more weeks on these things.
At least.
Thanks.
Next slide, please. Okay, so if we get into some specific bills that we engaged on and that we took positions on, we did take positions on 8 different bills. So certainly we were much more, we were very focused and kind of mindful of those bills that we did take positions on. We did support the construction defect bill, which does create an incentive program to try to incentivize builders and construction professionals to start building more housing. That bill did get a lot of support in the legislature. It passed. Another housing land use bill that we did engage on was the YIGBY bill. That stands for Yes in God's Backyard. This was the new version or one of Governor Polis's bills as it relates to land use and again, trying to build more housing. We had some issues with this bill. We were successful in getting an amendment in this bill that does apply specifically to Broomfield as it relates to public health and safety for oil and gas setbacks, you know, where anything can be built around aviation corridors, those kind of things. So we were successful in amending the bill. The bill, however, did not make it out of the Senate. The opponents, CML specifically, and some other organizations were able to get the votes to kill the bill in the Senate. So it eventually died on the calendar, I believe, the second day before the end of the session. Next bill, or excuse me, next slide. Two bills that did have to do with local control and usurping local control. I think I had mentioned that the state now likes to mandate all kinds of things on local governments, and certainly two of them would have had quite a bit of an impact on Broomfield. The first one was an interim committee bill that ramped up the timeline that local governments would have to comply with for permitting cell phone towers. And then the other one was requiring local governments to use a certain software app to permit for solar permits. We were successful in amending House Bill 1096 to remove all of that language that would require local governments to do this. So we were able to shift our position from an amend to a monitor on this bill. The cell phone tower bill 1056, we feel like we got that bill to the best place that we could. By extending those timelines, by putting a tolling timeline in there as well too. But this one, certainly working with CML on this bill, it was difficult because everyone wants their cell phone to work everywhere in the state, right? It is kind of a safety issue. So it was a little difficult to fight that one, but we were certainly successful in fending off the local government attack that was the solar permitting bill. Next slide, please. Here are some of the transportation bills that we tracked. I know the Mode Choice Bill, Senate Bill 30 was just discussed. We ended up in a good place with this bill so that there was not an unfunded mandate placed on Broomfield with this bill. So we provide a kind of a bike pedestrian inventory to our MPO, which is DRCOG. And so we ended up taking a support position on this bill, had some great conversations with the sponsors of this bill, one of whom is our delegation member. And then also the RTD modernization bill, or the transit reform bill. This one also lasted quite a long time. I think the second conference committee was still going at 5 or 6 p.m. on the last day of session. So this one certainly was a bill to watch. Both of our delegation members were on this bill, so we were able to have some great conversations in both the Senate and the House with this bill, and we were able to make a lot of or request some amendments that really did help Broomfield out as it relates to continuing the accountability committee, having the sub-regional councils report to the accountability committee, and having ridership throughout the county included in the bill. So that one was a good win as well too. And then one more slide, please. And then the last two bills, there was a bill that started in the House, but unfortunately didn't get any traction outside of its first committee. This bill would have directed the General Assembly to file suit over the constitutionality of Tabor. Given some of the budget constraints that the state has, the legislature felt that the constitutionality of Tabor should be questioned or litigated. Again, that bill did not get much traction, so that bill did die on the calendar in the House, even though we did support that bill. And then the second bill, the Colorado Voting Rights Act. This was one of those bills in reaction to what is happening at the federal level that codifies certain voting rights and equal access for minority groups in the state. However, some of the language in the bill did give some local governments pause as it relates to us being liable for certain things, and whether or not we have to comply with the federal government or with our state secretary or secretary of state and some of the voting laws that we have currently in place. That bill was a hot topic as it went through the legislature. No amendments were really made on that bill, or at least nothing substantial was put on that bill. They really didn't take any of CML's or CCI or CCAT's requests for amendments on that bill. And I have heard, I think this is one of those bills that we could expect some potential lawsuits to come out on the constitutionality of this bill. And next slide, please. So then in general, here's just an overview of our bill positions. As I mentioned, we took 8 positions, some in amend, kind of the same in an amend and support, a few in an opposed position. And then we had our eye on one bill that was the solar permitting bill that we went from an amend to a monitor position. So certainly we were successful in getting amendments on bills that put them in a better place, or that certainly eased a lot of our concerns on the mode choice bill, the YIGBY bill, the RTD bill, solar permitting bill as well. So, and then the next slide. So the interim, what is going to happen moving forward? It's next slide, please. It's going to be a quiet year, or I should say an interim, until the next legislative session, essentially because there's not much money to fund a lot of interim committees. We do expect some of the main interim committees will still meet probably 4 or 5 times. The number of bills that they introduce will likely remain the same, or they may try to limit that. But certainly keeping our eye on the Transportation Committee, the TLRC Committee, Agriculture, Water Resources, Wildfire, and then Treatment of Persons with Behavioral Health Disorders. Those committees will meet, but the legislature did cut a handful of interim committees simply because there's just no money for the legislature to meet with those committees. Next slide, please. Looking ahead, with the federal uncertainty that's happening, there could be a good chance that a special session is called. That special session would address any kind of cuts to Medicaid dollars specifically. Maybe some other issues could come up during the special session. But if there is a special session that does come, it will likely be in the fall, perhaps September. So we'll see what happens at the federal level. Will tensions with the executive branch keep up? This is Governor Polis's last year in office. Will the legislature flex their muscles a little bit? Will they try to override a veto if the governor vetoes bills next year? Don't quite know. The looming 2026 election, it's going to be a big year in Colorado in 2026, mainly because we have our top line election, that is the governor's race. In addition, every state legislative race, half of the state senate, all the congressional districts, and then all the state level offices are going to be up too. Secretary of State, Treasurer, Attorney General. So 2026 is going to be big for us. And then the continued budget deficit, there will be hard choices that the legislature and probably the general public will have to make here in the next several years to try to address some of the deficit that we have and that we will have moving forward. I don't know if Ed had mentioned it, but next year is going to be probably worse than this year as it relates to the budget and those cuts that the Budget Committee and the General Assembly are going to have to make for next year. So something is going to have to give. What that is, is TBD. But that is certainly going to be a looming issue in the state for the next couple of years. And next slide. We are happy to take any questions, comments, feedback. Ed will take criticisms if you have any.
Oh, thank you so much for the update and all of the work that you did on behalf of Broomfield this session. We appreciate it.
Of course.
We do allow public comments, I believe, on this. So if anyone would like to comment on this item. Go ahead.
Roxy Jula Lockamore. I'm glad that this year that our professional lobbyists were the ones at the front door. We got a few extra things done. It was a hard year. The year's not over with. It's going to continue to be hard, but I'm still glad that we are letting our lobbyists do their jobs instead of having other people walk over the top of them when decisions need to be made. And they're there for us. They're there for the community. They're there for CCOB. So they're there for all of us. So we pay them to do their job. They do their job and they come back and they give their report. It's the best that we can ask for. they're doing their job. And I'm glad that we have our paid lobbyists. We don't have nobody else out there putting their toes into the water when really it doesn't help us at all. So thank you very much
Thank
to
you.
our lobbyists and everybody else in the group helping.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard? How about any questions from council? No questions after the session? Councilmember Henkel.
Thank you. I'm trying to navigate all my devices over here and all my drinks. I apologize. Thank you so much. This has been a difficult year and a lot of it just deals with funding. I mean,
Yes.
is there money? Is there not? Is there a fiscal note? Is there not? It's very difficult. So I just wanted to thank you all for your hard work. I know that you also represent other clients as well. And so we know we aren't your only client, but we really appreciate that you help Broomfield. And I wanted to just point out if there's any way that we can work better with you as well. I think we're really up for that. I would like to know kind of what you all do in the off season. What does that look like for you and your group? We know it's not just, January through May. We know that this, we do a lot of stakeholdering. We talked about 90 meetings is what Shannon, sorry, I've known Shannon for a long time. I shouldn't call her that. Representative Shannon Bird talked about, 90 stakeholder meetings. What does your stakeholder meetings look like? What could this look like for Broomfield? And I know there's a lot of questions. My third question is, could we run our own bill one day with you guys if we all decide we want to do something like that, or even as a region? So I just wanted to get your input.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ed, feel free to interrupt or add some additional things, but certainly the interims are busy, just in a different way. So during the interim, one of the things that Ed and I like to do is we like to travel around and meet with legislators in their district. What are you working on? How is your day job going? What are your priorities going to be for next session? How can we work better together? So certainly we like to keep up our relationships with legislators, which is important to us. We do also attend the interim committees, try to figure out what their priorities may be, what they're proposing. In the fall is when they really start working on legislation and start drafting interim committee bills. And we want to make sure that our clients are at the table when they are doing that. This past interim, we had several bills that interim committees proposed that would have affected our clients or that did affect our clients. So making sure that we're there taking part of the conversation. And you're right, there's going to be stakeholder meetings as well too. Legislators know who some of our clients are, and they will just automatically include Ed and I in those conversations and work to get feedback. Sometimes we have to be proactive in that as well. CCI, CCAT, CML, and of course, Special District Association, fire chiefs, et cetera, you name the organization. They also look to run legislation in the coming years. And so we track that, we engage with them. We also participate in their, they always have a robust, set of meetings to develop legislation on their own. So we like to track all of that as well too, let our clients know if there's bills coming that would affect them from that process. Ed, what am I missing? What else do we do?
The more work we get done in the summer, the easier the session is. Last year, we were working on a very complex property tax issue for the assessors. And we met with the Metro District Association multiple times because the more we could work that out in advance of the bill being introduced, it just helped the bill run smoothly. If the city and county of Broomfield wanted to proactively seek legislation, we certainly would assist with that. And that's what we do with a lot of our clients.
Yeah. And really those conversations start June, July.
Yeah.
They start pretty quickly because depending on the intensity of the issue, if it's going to be a difficult one, et cetera, you want to get started right away. You want to secure good sponsors. So those kind of things happen fairly quickly in the interim.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. That's music to my ears. And I wanted to give a shout out to Danae too. I know you do a lot of work in this arena. Your ears are also to the ground as well. And so that partnership is just very important. So also thank you to Danae as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Schaaf.
Thank you, Mayor. So I really appreciate the presentation and work from our contract lobbyists and all of our staff members that are engaged with the state legislation. Last year, council discussed the ROIs, or the return on investment, from the financial commitments for purposes of engaging with the state legislation. We are a home rule community. We are not a statutory county like many of the counties in Colorado. Following the latest legislative session, I do think it is important for council to reevaluate the funding and staffing resources that are earmarked for the engagement with staff legislation or state legislation. We need to reevaluate those membership organizations and as well as the council time spent on state legislation as well. I mean, we have to realize that we are a unicorn within the state and that many more bills are not going to impact Broomfield at all. And there are some bills that impact Broomfield in a very minor way. So we do need to ensure that that we are in line with our engagement. There was a bill concerning the Colorado elections, and you mentioned this in your presentation. One of my concerns going into the legislative session was around this bill and the potential for this, especially the Secretary of State, putting an amendment in there to further delay the implementation of a rulemaking concerning ranked choice voting. I was curious, as the session wound down and this bill moved forward, did that amendment come that delayed, further delayed the implementation of ranked choice voting and the rulemaking associated with that, or will the rulemaking for ranked choice voting be concluded before 2025, like it states in last year's legislation?
Thank you for that question, Councilman. I don't know. That was not one of the issues in that bill that we were tracking. So I could not answer that question for you.
Okay.
My apologies.
No, thank you for that. And the other bill was the other question I had was around the YIGBY bill. So this was a priority of the governor's office, was a priority of the legislative leadership. Do you know, is there a conversation regarding this bill coming back in 2026, or is that kind of idea going to morph into something very different?
Yep. Thank you for that question. I have not heard if that's coming back. I mean, I know the sponsors were dedicated to that bill, obviously, and so was the governor's office, but usually you hear right away, or the sponsors will say something at the mic, et cetera, that signals that they are going to work on it for next session. Given that, you know, we did see the big bill 213, the big land use bill introduced two sessions ago, that was the governor's priority. That bill did fail. The governor did bring something similar back, but obviously in a much smaller package. So I don't know. He's had a couple of defeats in the land use arena. I don't know if he would bring something like this back, because it does seem like it's another one of those smaller pieces, trying to get at land use and trying to build more housing. I don't know. I'm not sure. My guess is that he would not.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for your presentation again tonight.
Welcome, of course.
Thank you. Councilmember Lim.
Thank you for your presentation. These questions might lend themselves better to that July 29th session that we're going to have, but I'm just going to preview that. So the lobbyist referred to the fact that the budget was balanced on the use of several severance tax funds. And I know we have used that, I think, recently for a housing project that we received some of that. And it also balanced, the general budget also balanced itself on the MMOF funds, the multimodal funds. So, and I'm interested to know what impact the lack of those funds then will possibly have on Broomfield, and maybe that's to come in July.
Right. I believe it is to come in July, and I'm sure Danae is going to mention that. I will say CDOT has not released the list of those projects that will be cut with the cuts to the MMOF fund. I know DRCOG is very much following that since they were heavily involved in selecting certain projects in their region out of those funds. So yeah, I think a lot more to come, but unfortunately there could be some impacts. Yeah.
And then I saw one bill that we were not following for Broomfield, but I saw mentioned that that may have an impact in Broomfield that would actually be at the probably North Metro level, that I wondered if staff would have contact with North Metro on House Bill 1009 on that's already starting in August. There would be required removal of dead or dry material that can fuel a wildfire and from any private property. So it would be fire protection in metropolitan districts that would be able to require this. So it was already signed by the governor, and I'm just, again, preview for July 29th. It's already coming into effect apparently in August, which is quick turnaround for a bill implementation. So yeah, so I'd be interested to know if North Metro intends to do something with that in the area or not. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from council? Or did you want to provide a?
Can I just
a
add
response? Sure.
something? So
Ms. Bullion.
I just wanted to follow up to the council members' comments. We will, at the July 29th study session, the return on investments with the membership organizations that are active in the lobbying space, that will be part of that memorandum and conversation that evening. And then the impact of the severance fund and the MMOA, that's not the right acronym, MFOA. Funds will be part of that conversation as well. So we'll bring that back on the 29th. So just to close the loop there, we just need some additional time. The big thing I do want to know on those cuts is they're over 10 years. So it's not an immediate cut. So that's the challenge of predicting. It's money that we get passed down through the state. So it's not an immediate cut to dollars we're already depending on. It's future funds, which is a little harder to predict. So we will have that at that July 29th study session and include also that bill that you just referred to as well. So thank you for that feedback in advance.
All right, well, thank all of you so much. Did you have any closing remarks?
Yes, I would just thank the council. I know you all came down to the Capitol for a legislative breakfast, so thank you for your time and engaging with our legislative delegation for that event. Several of you also came down to the Capitol to testify as well. And certainly that was very impactful, especially when we had a delegation member on that committee that you were testifying in front of. So certainly thank you very much for your interaction, for spending time down at the Capitol and for testifying. And then thank you to Danae and John. It was great working with them this session as well too. So thank you.
Thanks for helping it go so smoothly, as much as it can be, right?
Right. Right. Thank you.
Thank
And
you all.
that concludes our report.
Thank you again. We'll now continue with the report section of the agenda. City Manager Hoffman, do you have a report?
I do not, thank you.
Thank you. City and County Attorney Rogers, do you have a report?
I have a very short one, Mayor, and unfortunately she couldn't attend tonight, but I think she's working. This semester, my office was honored to host a third-year law student named Shelley Orlando, who finished her internship today and was able to do a bunch of research projects for us, was actually able to appear in our municipal court under the Student Practice Act, was able to help out with a dependency and neglect case, as well as a tax case, and even looking at an oil and gas matter. So she got the full gamut that our office can offer. She wasn't able to make the meeting in person tonight, but I just want to publicly thank her for her work. I want to wish her the best on her graduation this coming Saturday, and then of course wish her the best on her bar exam. So thank you, Mayor.
Oh, thank you very much, Ms. Rogers. That's awesome. Let's clap for her, even though she's not here. Excellent. Now, council's consideration of the consent items is next. Earlier this evening, Councilmember Anderson requested that item 6B be moved to action items. Therefore, it will not be reviewed at this time, but will be first on action. The clerk will read all of the consent items by title, and there'll be one opportunity for public comments and council questions and comments. Will the clerk please read agenda items 6A through 6C, 6A and 6C through 6J by title.
6A, approval of minutes for the regular council meeting of April 22nd, 2025. 6C, proposed resolution number 2025-45, approving an agreement with Tyler Technologies, Inc. for the renewal of maintenance and support for New World Public Safety software. 6D, proposed resolution number 2025-82, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Colorado Department of Local Affairs for Peace Officers Behavioral Health Support and Community Partnerships Program. 6E, proposed ordinance number 2252 to amend the Broomfield Municipal Code Titles 16 and 17 to address charter amendment changes relating to Broomfield's land use processes. 6F, proposed resolution number 2025-75, approving an intergovernmental agreement for 2025 Flex Ride service. 6G, proposed resolution number 2025-78, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Thornton for the Interim Mobility Hub pedestrian railing project. 6H, proposed resolution number 2025-74, approving a trash, rubbish, and garbage hauling license for Prime Roll-Off Systems LLC. 6I, proposed resolution number 2025-79, supporting Dr. Cog in achieving designation as an economic development district and recommending the appointment of Broomfield's Economic Vitality Director to the advisory committee. 6J, proposed resolution number 2025-80, authorizing and approving a permit for the 2025 fireworks display on July 4th.
Thank you very much. We'll now proceed with public comments on the consent items. If anyone would like to be heard, please make your way to the podium. Please state your name and neighborhood for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council staff. My name is Jen Rafey. I'm in Ward 4. First, I'd like to thank Councilmember Anderson for removing the consent agenda item 6B per my request. And what I'd like to remind the board is in the last study session, I think it was, our economists downgraded our fiscal status to fragile. And so my request to the board is to be cognizant of that and the futures we just heard about tonight in making any fiscal decisions. Do we really need to be spending this money now? Are there negotiations, options in place to like reduce a annual maintenance fee? Is it currently being used? That's just my request and suggestion. And thank you all for your service and your time.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard? Any questions or comments from City Council? Mayor Pro Tem Schaaf.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is regards to 6H, the Prime Roll-Off Systems Trash Hauler License. So I'm curious, this is probably the third or fourth, I think is what we decided in terms of the waste hauler trash hauling license that council has seen probably in the last year or so. And I was curious, is it possible that our local licensing authority or even our staff could handle these licenses as opposed to these coming to licenses, as opposed to coming to council? Is there a way for LLA or the staff to handle these in the future if there was a code amendment that was made so that we could create more efficiencies around these licenses, both for the trash haulers as well as for the residents that would like to sign up for these trash hauling?
Council or Mayor Pro Tem Schaaf, thanks for that question. Yes, it's in our code, and it's been a long-standing provision since actually the 1960s that City Council approved the trash hauler license, but that can be changed by an ordinance to either delegate that responsibility to the licensing authority or directly to the clerk's office, which is typical in other communities.
Excellent. Well, I would just, I do support the trash hauler license before us tonight, but I do think that it would be a good idea for council to create more efficiencies around this license program and to allow our staff to either handle this or our local licensing authority to handle this. And a code change could make that happen. So hopefully that is something that we can do in the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Manager Hoffman, did you want to address something now or wait till item 6B?
I'll wait. I was just going to provide clarity after the number of emails coming in. And I also asked Mr. Romine to stay tonight just so we can clarify the budget numbers for 2025 and 2026. So we can all be coming from the same place as we move forward on these discussions.
Okay, let me know when you want to do that.
Whenever you would like me to.
Well, let's go ahead and get the consent agenda passed.
Sure.
And then maybe since it touches on 6B, it would be good for you to comment.
It's
then.
perfect. Thank you.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Thank you. No, that's wonderful. All right, so we have public comments. Any more council comments? None. Before asking for a motion, I want to remind everyone that items 6D, 6F, and 6G contain intergovernmental agreements which require two-thirds approval of council. Is there a motion by council that consent items 6A and 6C through 6J be approved? Councilmember Wynn.
I make this motion.
Thank you. May I have a second? Councilmember Ward.
Second?
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Marsh Holston, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilmember. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes unanimously. Thank you all very much. Earlier this evening, it was requested that item 6B be moved to action items. As mentioned, we'll review this item before continuing with the agenda. Item 6B is council's consideration of a resolution approving the construction agreement for the auditorium lighting and technical production upgrades project. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Thank you. And as Brian Graham, Mr. Graham makes his way down, he is our CIP manager. That is where the funds for this particular item, Mayor, but to your earlier question, there's been some, I don't want to say confusion, but certainly staff wanted to clarify that the discussion that we had last week was 3 million that we needed to solve for in 2025. We're confident that we have solved for that. It's a 3.5 million in 2026. So it's not 6 million right now that we need to solve for, nor is it 3 million plus 6 million. The total amount for the next 2 years is 6.5. Staff will continue to bring and update council on how to close that gap, along with any updated revenue projections. Again, May is really, really early to have these conversations that aren't attached with a pretty significant question mark, particularly as we look at what's happening from a consumer purchasing perspective. From the federal piece. So as we move through this, when council has, or if they have additional questions on that specific note, Mr. Romine is also here to be able to address that.
I
Thank you, Mayor.
appreciate that clarification. Yes, there's been a lot of information buzzing around, so keeping the numbers straight is always a good idea. And I know that, we all want to help solve for the problem, but we all have to know how complex the budget is and how that there are many pass-through accounts and many buckets that can only be used for certain things. So it's not as simple as transferring, these funds here. It's much more complicated. So I am happy to let our resident experts, our staff, do that deep dive and be methodical and come back with, when I'm done, come back with, recommendations, because you guys are in the trenches. You are doing the day-to-day operations. You know best what are the critical obligations, the mandates, the priorities. So.
And staff will be cognizant, as we always are, but particularly now, with the items that are recommended to be put on the consent agenda. So we appreciate that feedback. We have scrubbed it moving forward. I know that council gets the brunt as when folks are looking at the agenda, but it really is staff suggestion on what is an action item and what is put on the consent agenda. So moving forward, we will be much more conscientious, not only of the amounts, but of those items, and ensuring that the memos that are released, even if we're recommending that it's on consent, are clearly described. So it leaves very little room, if at all possible, to either misconstrue or misunderstand where the funds are coming from, the source of the funds when the decision was made. I can also say from the CIP perspective, we will be doing a much more significant editorial and explanation, if you will, on the decision matrix, that the repeatable process that we have been putting through the equitable matrix for the last 3 years, what those elements are that we look at and what each one passes through, so that council and the community is well aware that this is a repeatable process. These aren't decided upon arbitrarily, nor are they put in outside of any type of repeatable process or review. Does that help?
Yeah, no, definitely. I guess I'll allow our council members to weigh in. Go ahead, Councilmember Les. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just thought we could have our presentation first.
Yeah, well, because people remember the last thing said, and so I just wanted clarification. City Manager, I heard you say that 3 million from this year has been addressed. Then you said there's still a 6 million problem, 3 million this year, 3 million next year. So what I'm hearing you say is it's actually 3.5 million next year, that this year's issue has already been resolved.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So now, and thank you for your patience, Mr. Graham. We're ready for your presentation now.
Of course. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, and City Leadership. Thank you for the advance notice that there may be some questions. Allowed us time to prepare a presentation, and hopefully we can resolve all the questions you may have. I'm here to present on the Broomfield Auditorium lighting and technology production upgrades. Before you this evening is a resolution to approve a construction agreement. This is with Lux AVL Incorporated, and this work will replace a 20-year-old system or majorly upgrade it, not fully replace. The work will enhance safety and access for staff. And again, we have gone through the design process, and before you this evening is a construction agreement. Next slide, please, Curtis. Excuse me. Staff had identified long before 2020 ongoing issues and maintenance concerns, but it was an issue in a 2020 performance that triggered an immediate CIP request that was funded in 2021. That project was ultimately delayed and put on hold due to the reorganization of priorities due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And this project raised back up on the priority list and was fully funded, both design and construction, in 2024. We began the design in 2024 and subsequently pushed construction dollars out into 2025. And that was again adopted as part of the 2025 budget process. This extended delay has caused an increase in the urgency of the project. As noted, I think in some of the questions and part of the discussion here, we categorize our CIP funding request into mandate, critical, obligation, and other. While this does fall into the other category, anything that has made it into a proposed budget is at the top of the other category and has been identified as a priority for various reasons, including equity, safety, public benefit, quality of life, or alignment with various council priorities. Next slide, please. So the purpose of this project, again, is to improve the safety, functionality, and performance quality for the community and the city programming at the events that take place in the auditorium. It will address longstanding issues with the lighting and sound systems. Currently, we are ordering parts off of eBay because they are not readily available, and that means that they may not be available when we need them. There are other safety concerns, including the setup of scaffolding over auditorium seating to reach the lights because they don't come down as in a modern auditorium. So scaffolding must be placed to reach those, and that presents a safety hazard for staff. Obviously, there's been reduced renter satisfaction. This is a facility that is rented out to the community, and, these issues continue to push potential renters to other facilities that we could be hosting in our own facility and generating revenue in that way. And, as noted here in the last bullet, there are about 50 different user groups each year, 120 days that the facility is being utilized for various things, various community needs, and it welcomes about 25,000 people a year to its events. Next slide, please, Curtis. So the scope of the work includes replacing, the outdated lighting system and upgrading to LED lights, installing that ceiling mounted light grid that will lower for easier access to maintain and operate the system, upgrades to the lighting controls and dimming systems, providing various and new lighting options for different types of performances, new audio equipment, and improving the acoustics of the space through some drapery. Next slide, please. So just to take you through our process to date, we began in March of 2024 with an operational assessment and benchmarking study. So that looked at what other facilities are offering and available in the community and what are the operational deficiencies. That study led to the design that began last fall, in fall of 2024 by MSR Design. And so again, we are fully designed and ready to start construction. The project was publicly bid. We received 2 bids, including the lowest responsive bid of $888,000 by, again, Lux AVL. This bid is within budget. Again, the budget that was approved originally in 2024 and reapproved in 2025. This work, we're working with that contractor in anticipation of approval to complete this work in August, September, and early October. The library staff has paused reservations for that time period, so that is reserved for this construction work. Next slide, please. Just to clear up or answer the question about where the funding is coming from, it is funded in Fund 20, which is our CIP fund. Again, that is funded by sales tax revenue and mill from property tax. We have spent about or encumbered about $225,000 to date, and this construction contract is $888,000. And we have some contingency set aside that totals our full $1.2 million budget for the project. And I'm going to ask Catherine Lineup, our Director of Library, Arts, History, and CSU Extension, to present the last 2 slides and just really hit home on the importance and urgency of the project.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Catherine Lineup, Director of Library Arts, History, and CSU Extension. Trips right off the tongue. Next slide, please, Curtis. Thanks. So I want to talk a little bit more about the benefits to the community for doing this project. As stated before, we serve 50 organizations at least a year with 120 days of usage. Many of these organizations are SCFD funded for the city and county of Broomfield and are required to do arts in Broomfield community. The auditorium is the perfect size and cost for these kind of organizations to be able to do these community events that bring arts, music, lectures, as well as other rentals for for-profit groups like recitals for piano students and that sort of thing. So we kind of run the gamut there, and we're just the right size for these organizations. For context, for you all, we've already maxed out our 2026 calendar. So that's how far in advance our community is booking. So in this case, knowing that we had this period that we were needing to block off, we've worked with Jefferson Academy to move some of those organizations over that wanted to, and then tried to accommodate everyone. But it is a critical piece of infrastructure for our community. And where we are right now with the lighting system in particular is it is end of life. We have been patching it together for the last 5 years while we were getting in line because there are lots of funding priorities. Replacing that lighting system now ensures the continuity of service for all of the community groups who rely on the auditorium. The new system will also be energy efficient, significantly lowering the utility costs, easier to maintain. Right now, every time a bulb goes out, we have to build scaffolding, get up there, change the light bulb. And they also have like a color scrollers. So with this new technology with LED, we'll be able to switch that on the board instead of getting up there and adding a color scroll to each light. So it gives us a lot more options, especially for theatrical events to accommodate and do a little bit more professional grade. But at this point, we can't, the light system we have can't keep going. So that's the key piece here. It's also a cost-effective investment in existing infrastructure that avoids the expense of repeated temporary fixes and the potential for full system failures at this point. Ultimately, what we're trying to ensure is that a heavily used public space remains safe, functional, and welcoming for years to come. In addition, this will use industry standard equipment that we can find replacement parts for, and that grid allowing us to easily change out when we need to is huge, and again, industry standard. Next slide, please. So with that, we are recommending the approval of this resolution, and we'd welcome any questions that you all may have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lenup and Mr. Graham. We will start with public comments. If anyone would like to be heard on this item, please make your way to the podium. State your name and neighborhood for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Roxy Jula Lockmore. So I keep hearing that this auditorium is too small for them to use in the way they want to use it, and they want to enlarge it and everything. So this lighting in my eyes needs to be set up to where it can be a easily plug and play, which a lot of other auditoriums are when they go from a small event to a larger event. If we end up adding on to this building, and this is not set up in that way, I think it will put a black dot on the city for not looking to the future and paying out a huge amount of money for an upgrade that isn't looking at the future. If we end up, like they said, this is a perfect spot for what they have that comes to Broomfield and wants to use stuff. And we just want some fancy lights to go ahead and let the performers and let the public see them better. Then this is a good thing. But all I ever hear is how this place is too small. And I've heard that for years now. So if it's not set up to do a plug and play and do an extension onto it, then this is should be looked at much better. I do understand their old technology that they have, but you got to look for the future. And if you end up wanting us taxpayers pay for a larger building on that platform that they have now, then those lights need to be able to be extended as a plug and play. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comments?
Sandy Anderson, Broadlands. I just have to say our library, the auditorium, everything around it is just the gem of our city. I mean, besides you guys, of course, but seriously looking at the future, which I think makes a whole lot of sense, making sure that we have that ability in case we do expand. That's fine. That's a wise thing. But look at the events that we have here every year and the quality that we get from our library. I mean, I give her everything.
Thank you. Yep.
Howdy, Jesse Applegate, Country Estates. I have been in the audience many times in the auditorium. My brother is a dancer. He and his dance group have used it every year, multiple times a year. I can say with certainty that the quality and effectiveness of the lights does feel to have been deteriorating over time. I don't know if this is because of, I don't understand much about lights, I will admit. So maybe this is just someone who is not terribly familiar with the system behind the controls, but I can say that I do think this is, assuming that this is the lights that are at fault, then they should certainly be replaced. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, I'll go to my colleagues, starting with Councilmember Leslie.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody. And I know you kind of put this together fairly quickly. I'd love to know a little bit more about the savings inherent here. I mean, how much rent do you generate annually from the auditorium? Do you have any concept of that? In other words, if the lights fail, it wouldn't be for a whole year necessarily, but it could be for several months before they were replaced or repaired. So how much rent might we get monthly, and then how much might we lose if we have to shut down for a few months? That's one issue. Second issue, correctly, you identified that there would be savings in energy costs as a result of more efficient lighting. I think you used 30% as a figure. So there's an offset to the cost of this. Third, there's a contingency in here. And I can't remember the number, 86,000 or thereabouts. So that's not necessarily going to be spent. That's there in case there is a cost increase that may happen, of course, may not happen. So instead of 1.2 million, it may be more like 1.1 million that's going to cost. So there's a savings there. My point is that this is not going to be $1 million project when you put all those things together. And in fact, we could lose a lot more should we have to shut down, not only in costs or rental revenues, but in the community's ability to do what they are expected and charged to do. I go there frequently. And yes, it's too small for what we'd like to do in the future, but there's nothing on the plans right now that allow us to rebuild that facility. We'd like to, but it's not there. So if you don't repair this, this could continue to be all the detrimental things that you're talking about. And so I just wanted to get a little bit more sense from you from a fiscal perspective, if you can give us any more numbers here.
You can do, you're right about the contingency. On all of our capital projects, we try to maintain a contingency for unexpected or unforeseen issues. And the resolution does authorize the city manager to approve contract amendments up to 10%, or in this case, up to the available 9.75%, or that $86,000. And I cannot answer your question in terms of have the potential savings in terms of maintenance savings or the 30% projected savings on the lighting. Those costs have not been precisely quantified.
Yeah, I'm really trying to make the point. And I know you're not prepared to answer, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I want for our constituents to understand that there's not an easy solution to waiting for us to be able to build a new auditorium. That's not going to happen in the near future. We do have 25,000 folks you mentioned are part of the arts and presentation community, let alone those who come to watch and participate. There's a lot of people who depend on this facility. Not to do this, I think, would be a shame. So I'm just trying to make that point. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. So, Councilmember Wynn.
Thank you, Mayor. I always ask this question, what if we do nothing? You know, what if we don't proceed with this, what is the worst case situation? Would the production, would things be affected? What if we do nothing?
That is a good question. We've already had one failure during a show. Turned out to work. We brought in lamps and it was a dance school sound thing and it turned out kind of cool, but it was staff being ingenious. And it was one of our shows rather than a rental, so that matters. But the concern here is back to council members Leslie's point, is less the revenue we bring in, which can be anywhere from 30 to 50,000 a year. But it's more about the ticket revenue for those renters, for them. That's what's keeping them afloat. So a show or a period where we have to close and they cancel because they can't get, it is very hard to get a venue. And we are significantly cheaper than others of our size. So that's my major concern. And honestly, we did push this off thinking we were going to have an expansion. And then we realized that's going to be further down the road. The lighting is not going to, possibly will not last that long, and we can no longer find parts. But to the comment from the community, we did design this specifically with the company for those expansion build out so it can be flexible if there is a change of space. So that has been taken into account. So if that does happen in the future, this system will continue to work with that.
Thank you for your answer. Those are my questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. I'll be quick. I know we're running low on time. Based on the flurry of emails we've all received, I was expecting more public comment tonight, but I appreciated the city manager clarifying that we're talking about 3.5 million in next year's budget. And setting the numbers right, I asked her to do one more calculation for me to put things in context, that the 3.5 million of next year's budget is 0.8% of expenditures of the overall city budget. And so we had a flurry of emails asking us to cut this allocation, which would be 0.4% of our budget. So I guess this is more of a comment that it would be pretty unfair to take half of our cuts out of the city auditorium. Seems a bit of a price to pay. That if we have to cut 0.8, we shouldn't take it out of the library and out of the auditorium. And I hope people will take that, put that in context and support this measure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Schaaf.
Thank you, Mayor. So a local arts organization, Colorado Conservatory of Dance, has been sending out emails recently about their dire financial straits. That's as much as I'll get into that email. But one of their subject lines on their email recently said, "Art is not a luxury, it's a lifeline." However, when budget cuts begin to be discussed, it always seems the first thing thrown at those cuts are the arts. The Broomfield Auditorium showcases community, professional, and city performances and events. These upgrades will ensure consistent and reliable events and performances for both paying tenants as well as paying patrons of the auditorium. As stated, the lighting equipment is at the end of its life. Without an upgrade, this equipment has an increasing potential to fail at any moment, leaving an event or a performance in uncertainty. As a patron, a landlord, a stage performer, and a tenant of a theater with failing equipment, nothing is more stressful than the realization the lights will go dark or fail just before the performance, or worse yet, during the performance. Council asks for your continued support of the arts in Broomfield and ensuring our staff, artists, and patrons have a safe and reliable experience in our auditorium. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow, you get clapped. Councilmember Lim.
I had a few questions regarding the what City Manager Hoffman said about the future memos. So, and also about what the library fund is used for. So I don't know who wants to address, maybe we'll go there first. So there is a library fund with a dedicated mill levy. And I think that was a little confusing in this context. of this project. And so what is that library fund used for? And why is this CIP project not within the scope of that library fund?
The library fund, so two, will you bring up, Curtis, will you go back to the slide that it has that Mr. Graham had gone over? So there's two different mill levy amounts. One of the mill levy amounts goes for CIP. So a specific portion of those taxes go directly into the CIP account. The mill levy for the library is operational and programmatic. It's not, we don't use that for capital improvement projects, equipment, larger ticket items, simply because the capital improvement projects are generally one and done, where the operations are and programming have FTEs that are attached. So being very cognizant of what is general fund dollars, what is CIP fund dollars, and what is dedicated revenue stream from the mills for the library.
That's helpful. Thank you. So, and you said, generally speaking, from this point forward, you'll, in the financial section of the memo, you will clearly designate what fund it's coming from. Is that accurate?
That's yes, it's accurate. And so keeping in mind, so the library has a dedicated revenue mill levy, as does human services, as does open space. So moving forward, when we have those individual categories, we'll ensure that we include those dollar amounts as well, as if in fact they're being used as portions of the funding for whatever that ask is in the memo.
And then you also said if it's the project that you'll use a little different review process for what goes on the consent agenda. So do you have a threshold amount in mind, or what will that review process be like? So we do have the public, I appreciate the clarification with the amounts that we need to reconcile in the budget, but we do have the public appropriately looking at what's on the consent agenda.
Couldn't agree more. So that isn't a repeatable process. We're not saying if it's anything over 500,000, because as soon as we say anything over a particular amount, there will be a topic that is controversial that will then fall outside of that category. So again, it's to the best of our ability, if we think that it is something that will generate additional, difficult enough not to have a presentation, then we'll take it off of consent. Again, the consent items, as council knows, but also for the community, consent items aren't designed to get something, it's empty. It's not designed not to have conversation about it or to deliberate or to, kind of do the hide the shell. The consent agendas are things that we've already discussed, budgets that have already been approved that have yet to be appropriated, first and second items and readings. It's really a way to manage council's time during these meetings. So if, again, if the default was an amount, the meetings would become not only unmanageable, but if we had to do line by line by line by line. So are we going to get every single one right? No, we aren't. Thus, council's ability to say, I'd like to pull that item if in fact there's something, and again, staff turns around in a 12-hour period of time with this type of presentation and discussion.
That's great. I appreciate the explanation and the presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you. And as the one who pulled it off the consent agenda, I just want to share that I seriously appreciate all this additional information. I don't think the intention was ever, I think I raised some fears. The intention was not to try to remove this funding, but I think that we had this really good opportunity to hear more about why this improvement is so necessary. There's also the upcoming library closure, which is when this upgrade will take place. And I think there's two pieces, and I appreciate your comments earlier about like more scrutiny of what should be on the consent agenda and what shouldn't. And when we think that an item can stay on the consent agenda, I would say there's a lot of background information that could have been included in that memo that would have linked to the 5-year CIP, that would have, the funding source, and then also that this is already in motion, and we've already redone the entire schedule for the upcoming events. I think that's really important. There was a similar item that was the contract with Tyler Technologies that was raised. That was $379,000. And you can read right in there that this is a critical and integral part of how public safety is coordinated and recorded by the Brimfield Police Department. It says right there, like, we have to have this. And so I only pulled the one off, but it's really like that this conversation, I hope we can, we'll see as this goes forward. If there's opportunities where we think we should pull something off, we can. And I so I appreciate that, the future expansion, all my questions have been answered. And not to put a Ward 3 constituent on the spot, but I just want to acknowledge Jesse Applegate and your comment. My girls actually dance with his brother, and they have been dancing there for a few years now with Dance Arts. It is a fabulous studio, and it will be under a new name next year with new leadership. And so we will continue to see shows there, maybe though without his brother, who's graduating. So I appreciate that feedback, and I will continue to be a regular patron of the auditorium. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, any other questions from council? All right, seeing no further questions. Next is council's consideration of proposed resolution number 2025-73. Will the clerk please read the proposed resolution by title?
Proposed resolution number 2025-73, approving the construction agreement with Lux AVL Inc. for the auditorium lighting and technical production upgrades project.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution, Mayor Pro Tem Shaft?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Henkel?
That wasn't predicted, was it? Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Henkel?
Thank you. I wanted to just have discussion during discussion and questions during question. I just want to appreciate our library arts group. You all do such an amazing job. And I have worked with your crew there. They're a highly professional team and paid for them to do things that I didn't even know were a thing, to be quite honest. I'm not in arts and history very much in that realm. And in our nonprofit work, our nonprofits really do rely on being able to show our community, who we are in the community. So your team, like Tracy, I think it was Matthew, they are just, thank you so much for just being there for us. And every little detail they also followed up with. This goes beyond lights. This goes beyond everything. And you guys are truly a showcase of who and what Broomfield is and represents in the community. I do want to address, just to make sure that we have clarity in like consent agenda. I do agree with council colleagues in making sure that we're clear as to why things are on the consent agenda. Maybe we could explain to the community why things are put on consent agenda, or we can describe it as we're introducing it as things have been heard before or funding that has already been pre-approved, and maybe we just present it in a different way. I do understand the community's concerns about this funding being spent. It's a normal concern. Everyone should have those concerns. I also want to make sure that we're very clear as to when that funding was already approved. And then how long you guys have waited. You guys have waited a very long time. And 5 years, that's as long as I've been on council. So I really appreciate all of your efforts. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any other discussion? Seeing none, council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Marsh Holshan, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote, and the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes unanimously. Thank you all so much for the discussion. Well, it is 8:20 and we were going to take a break at 8, but we're going to take a break now. So we'll be back at 8:30. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to pick up where we left off with item 7A on the action items. The first item under action items this evening is the public hearing and council's consideration on second reading of a proposed ordinance related to off-street and bicycle parking code. I'll now declare the public hearing open. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Thank you, Mayor. And joining us tonight is Mike just left. Mark Ambrosi. And this is the second reading of Broomfield Off-Street Bicycle Code Parking. Mr. Ambrosi, please introduce us to this item.
First, Broomfield leadership. My name is Mark Ambrosi. I'm the Principal Transportation Planner for the City and County of Broomfield. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight for the second reading of proposed ordinance number 2268. This ordinance would update Broomfield's off-street and bicycle parking requirements. Next slide, please. So this ordinance is aimed primarily at addressing City Council direction from the June 18th, 2024 study session. This slide outlines the major changes proposed by this ordinance that we reviewed in detail during the April 8th, 2025 first reading. So the big components of the changes that we're proposing, creation of a new parking reduction area along 120th Avenue, including Main Street south to 112th Avenue. The elimination of parking minimums for certain land uses within parking reduction areas. Introducing guest and visitor parking requirements for residential land uses in areas with parking constraints. Updating and strengthening requirements for short-term bicycle parking. Ensuring bicycle parking design requirements explicitly state the need to accommodate cargo bicycles. Adding language requiring that EV charging stations include one van accessible space. And making a few technical edits to clarify code language. Next slide, please. In addition, one amendment was introduced at the first reading requiring staff to review and bring forward potential updates to the bicycle parking code no less than every 5 years. That has been added to this proposed ordinance. There were two other minor changes made to the code. These include changing language describing how short-term bicycle parking thresholds are calculated in the bicycle parking table, specifically requiring that uses that rely on a percentage of total motor vehicles to base that calculation off non-parking reduction area parking requirements. That's a mouthful there, but the second Scrivener's edit was adding minimum short-term bicycle parking requirements for multi-unit residential development. Next slide, please. In conclusion, proposed ordinance number 2268 will update Title 17 of the Broomfield Municipal Code to revise off-street parking and bicycle parking requirements. If adopted, these requirements would apply to all new development and redevelopment unless a specific PUD plan has established unique parking requirements. If not amended in substance after the second reading and approved by council, this ordinance will be published in title and go into effect June 30th, 2025. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll now proceed with public comments. If anyone would like to be heard on this item, please make your way to the podium. Don't see anyone, so we'll proceed with questions from council. Any questions from council? Evening. All right. There being no questions, the public hearing is closed. Next is council's consideration of proposed ordinance number 2268. Will the clerk please read the proposed ordinance by title?
Ordinance number 2268 to amend the Broomfield Municipal Code Title 17-32, accessory buildings and uses to revise the regulations for off-street and bike parking.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance on second and final reading and order it published by title? Councilmember Ward.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Leslie.
I second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? No, seeing no discussion. Council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Marshall-Holston, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen and that passes unanimously. Thank you all very much. Next, under action items, this evening is the public hearing and council's consideration on second reading of a proposed ordinance related to administrative organization. I'll now declare the public hearing open. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Thank you, Mayor. And Anna Bertenzetti, Deputy City County Manager, is going to do it from the podium. Ms. Bertenzetti.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, Anna Bertenzetti, Deputy City and County Manager. If I could have the next slide, please. As was mentioned, this is the second reading for ordinance number 2269. This is regarding the administrative organization, chapter 260. The last formal amendment to Chapter 260 occurred in 2020. Since that time, Broomfield has made modifications to Broomfield's organizational structure to position staff to meet the evolving needs of the community. Many of the changes reflected in the ordinance have already been in place, some for many years. While not formally reflected in the ordinance, these changes were communicated during reports to council and were included in budget adoptions by the city council each year. Next slide, please. There are 4 primary changes incorporated into this ordinance. A full presentation regarding the changes was provided at the first reading. There's also details included in the staff memorandums. If council desires to proceed with the changes outlined to the organizational structure, then it is recommended that ordinance number 2269 be adopted, and this concludes staff's presentation for the second reading.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bertenzetti. We'll now proceed with public comments. If anyone would like to be heard on this item, please make your way to the podium. All right, seeing none, questions from council are next. Are there any questions from council? All right, seeing no questions, next is the public hearing is closed. Next is council's consideration of proposed ordinance number 2269. Will the clerk please read the proposed ordinance by title?
Ordinance number 2269 to amend chapter 2-60 to the Broomfield Municipal Code to change administrative organization.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance on second and final reading in order published by title? Councilmember Henkel?
So moved.
Thank you. And is there a second? Councilmember Leslie?
Second the motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion, we'll move forward to the vote on ordinance number 2269. Council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Marshall, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes unanimously. Thank you all very much. The final item under action items this evening is council's consideration of a resolution establishing the City and County of Broomfield Fiscal Leadership and Water Advisory Committee. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Thank you, Mayor. We're just flying right through this, and I do want to give Ms. Bertenzetti credit for the very clever and witty acronym of FLOW.
I thought it was good too.
Ms. Bertenzetti.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. Tonight is consideration of Resolution 2025-85, which would create the new advisory committee, the Fiscal Leadership on Water. Yes, with the fun acronym of FLOW. Very appropriate. Next slide, please. In April, staff presented the first quarterly enterprise update. As part of that update, staff made a recommendation regarding the creation of a new resident advisory committee that could provide council and the staff with recommendations regarding the enterprise fund budget and capital projects. Based on the discussion and direction provided by council, staff is bringing forward this item this evening. Next slide, please. Council indicated support for the creation of a utility enterprise focused resident advisory committee, kind of a mouthful, and discussion was had around trying to expedite the implementation of that type of committee. Staff's taken steps to try to expedite that recruitment as much as possible. The recruitment officially began actually last week, and the application will remain open until May 21st. Once the application period ends, staff will compile the applications that are received and provide that information to the City Council. Council appointments are scheduled for the June 10th City Council meeting. So that's a few weeks sooner than we had initially anticipated when we presented this proposal with the quarterly update. Next slide, please. The resolution for consideration would create this new advisory committee. As mentioned, the name is the Fiscal Leadership on Water, or the FLOW. As proposed, FLOW would have 7 resident appointees to begin with. There would initially not be alternative members, but that could be modified when council revisits the advisory committee in the future. Typically, board appointments are done in the spring every year, and usually most of the boards and commissions or committees for Brimfield are 4-year appointments. To align the future appointments with that regular schedule, the initial FLOW committee would be made up of 7 individuals, 3 of whom would be serving 4.5-year terms, and 4 of which would be having the 2.5-year terms. All terms would end on March 31st of their respective years, and that would allow it to catch up with the appointments with all of our other boards and committees. Next slide, please. The resolution establishing FLOW would recommend that appointees have knowledge or experience with finance, water resource budgeting, or operations, but it would not have this as a minimum requirement, since it was expressed during the last study session that it would be helpful to consider what other backgrounds residents may bring to their based on their individual experiences that would help to create a more well-rounded advisory committee. With this in mind, as part of the application form, residents are being asked to summarize their related experience, as well as what other complementary skills or perspectives they think they would be bringing to the board and they believe should be considered as part of the appointment process. The application also provides an opportunity for applicants to outline how they would have been engaging with Brimfield's budget and CIP process previously, since it would be helpful for resident appointees to have some familiarity with the enterprise funds and with existing projects. Next slide, please. In terms of meeting times, we're establishing that the standing meeting times for this committee would be the first Thursday of every month at 6:00 p.m. These regular meetings would begin in August, and the onboarding would occur in late June and early July. These dates are all included on the FLOW website so that applicants to the committee are aware of these times prior to submitting their application. Next slide, please. And I should mention, the board could take action to meet more frequently during peak times of their business when they're reviewing the budget or the CIP projects, but this would be their standing meetings. So as we move forward with the board, again, appointments are tentatively scheduled for June 10th. The first meetings would occur in June and July. Those are primarily for onboarding and training. They'd also be creating their bylaws during that time. In early August, FLOW would be given an opportunity to be introduced to and provide early comments on the draft 2026 budget and 5-year CIP projects. Then moving forward in the fall of 2025, there'd be an opportunity for a deeper dive into the training for the enterprise funds and the CIP plans. And this would prepare the committee members to be more involved in crafting and having input on and providing much more early comments on the 2027 budget, which actually kicks off in early 2026. Next slide, please. So if the council decides to proceed with the creation of FLOW, it's recommended that the resolution be approved. If the resolution is not approved, then staff will discontinue the recruitment efforts that are already underway, as I mentioned, or we will update the website with any changes based on this evening's direction and resolution. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Burton-Zetti. We'll now proceed with public comments. If anyone would like to be heard on this item, please make your way to the podium, state your name and neighborhood for the record, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hello again, Jen Rafey, Ward 4. I just want to say how excited I am about this opportunity, and I plan to be one of the candidates. And I think it's a real valuable trait that the council and staff is considering engaging the community more in this capacity. So I'm all for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Questions or from council? Questions from council? Oh, not a one. All right, seeing no questions. Next is council's consideration of proposed resolution number 2025-85. Will the clerk please read the proposed resolution by title?
Proposed resolution number 2025-85, establishing the City and County of Broomfield Fiscal Leadership on Water Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Councilmember Leslie?
I'm pro flow, so I move the resolution.
That's good. Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Hinkle?
I can't do that. I'm laughing so hard. Thank you, Councilmember Leslie. Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All right, moving along. Council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Marshall, please cast your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. One more vote waiting. Hinkle, how do you vote? Can you put a yes in? She's having tech problems. There we go. We got you. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes unanimously. Well, thank you for putting that together so quickly, and we're excited to start the flow. I know, that was really corny. That was, stop it. Okay, the next item of business for council's consideration this evening is Councilmember Ward's suite of requests for future action regarding removing drive-throughs and other things as permitted use within the city and county of Broomfield. This is not a discussion on the topic, but instead an opportunity for council to provide staff direction on whether or not council desires staff to dedicate time and resources to this request. We'll start with the first one, Councilmember Ward. You may now begin your 5-minute presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. I will try and keep my suite of presentations rather short. As the action item or the request for future action states, I would like us to, for all new and redevelopments, remove the use of, remove drive-throughs as a permitted use within the city and county of Broomfield. Predominantly, I've been thinking about this for a while now, and as many of you know, both on council and in the community, I have campaigned on and made it a priority of myself to make sure we are a far more walkable, bikeable, and livable community. And if you were to look in the dictionary, the hypothetical dictionary, right next to car-centric design, along with empty parking lots, would be drive-throughs. I think they are a waste of precious land that we have within our fixed boundaries as the city and county of Broomfield. They contribute to pollution through idling vehicles. They increase points of contact with not only cars, but pedestrians that cause increased rear end accidents, for example, and injuries and just accidents with pedestrians and bicyclists. Not only that, but they continue to increase impervious surfaces for water to run off into our storm system, which necessitates extra infrastructure. And they create a heat island effect that, quite frankly, the little trees that we put in parking lots don't, I think, effectively mitigate that issue. Also, there is some research to suggest that drive-throughs, particularly these new concept drive-throughs where it's drive-through only and no walk in and grab your stuff like what we're seeing with, I think Scooters is a good example over off of 287. That they do not produce the same revenue for the city, for municipalities and counties as a traditional building or a subsequent structure that is of a similar business nature. And so I think it would be prudent upon ourselves to remove this land use. That's my presentation.
All right, well, thank you for the presentation. So we're just gonna kind of get, what you got there? Councilmember Marsh Holston.
Just a question real quick. This would remove it as a permitted use, right? But we'd still be able to approve if we wanted to, or we needed to in the future as a use by special review.
I guess that's a question for Ms. Rogers.
Yes, there's a way where the applicant could ask for variance or a use by special review, depending on what the specific requirement is.
Okay, thank you. I support moving forward with this.
All right, so I'm gonna go down the list. Everybody needs to say yes or no to move forward. Okay, Councilmember Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just urge people to not take our time on pursuing this. I think we need to be realistic about our community, that while we may want a walkable community, we are a suburb. And there are many areas of our community that just aren't walkable, and you need to take a car. Moreover, there are many reasons to support having drive-throughs. One, just on businesses that lack drive-throughs lose a lot of business to those who do. And you can look that up. But more on a human level, I worry about the effect for people in terms of ADA, people who do not have mobility, people who cannot necessarily easily get out of a car and walk into a business and another business and another business, that having a drive-through is not only, it's just convenience, but also the only way they can really access some services, in particular pharmacy. If I'm ill, I don't want to go into the pharmacy to pick up my prescription. And if I'm not ill, I don't want to walk to the pharmacy and be around people who are sick, waiting to pick up their prescriptions at the front desk. So I think that while I appreciate the intent, I think it doesn't reflect reality for Broomfield and would be seen as a threat to future businesses in our community. So I urge us not to take the time on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Delgadillo.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to say that I would be in favor of hearing this out. I think this is an interesting proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Henkel.
Thank you, Mayor. As a mom of two, I relied very heavily, especially when husband was deployed, to have drive-throughs, to find food and or medications. There was times too, I couldn't even bring my sick kid into a pharmacy. And we need access for people who are sick. We have access for people that travel with us. And as much as I would love to insinuate that we are already walkable, to go from an area like Broadlands or McKay, I cannot. We bike to the grocery store. My daughter bikes everywhere, but there's only a certain amount of space that we can do that. And so it really limits what we can do in our own ward based on the space that we already have. I like the idea. I would like to incentivize this versus ban. So if we can figure out a way to incentivize, I would appreciate that. And I also, if this does move forward, I would really appreciate some stakeholdering with local businesses and seeing if this would, defeat the purpose of having the businesses here, because the businesses do rely on market studies. And if that market study and or the interest in their business to be here does not have a drive-through for accessibility for their clients, then their businesses go down. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Ward, for bringing this discussion and your pursuit of walkable and bikeable communities forward. While I understand the concerns surrounding drive-throughs, I believe they are a vital component of the fast food industry's viability and accessibility for residents. Many people rely on drive-throughs for convenience, whether due to mobility limitations, tight schedules, or simply the need for a quick option. Rather than prohibiting drive-throughs outright, I propose that we address concerns such as wait times and vehicle idling through the existing concept review and public hearing process. We can work collaboratively with businesses to implement strategies such as improved queue management, enhanced efficiency measurements, and alternative solutions to reduce environmental impact. And I would just like to continue this through the development review process and not additional staff time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Schaaf.
Thank you, Mayor. So at first, when I heard this concept of removing drive-throughs in Broomfield as a permitted use, I wasn't too likely to support it. However, after reading the Regional Air Quality Council, or RAC, as it's described in more terms here in Colorado, they talk a lot about air quality And as we know, along the Front Range, our air quality is severely impacted. And one of those areas is through transportation. One of their recommendations on the RAC is to limit or to remove drive-throughs as a permitted use locally. That's one of the ways in which local governments can have an impact on their air quality. So I do support this idea moving forward. I would like to study this issue, the impacts that it has, both economically as well as our air quality. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Nguyen.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is an interesting idea. However, I do not think it's feasible just because we are very car dependent and a lot of businesses use drive-throughs. With that said, if it isn't too much of a way to review, I think we should consider it. However, I personally don't think it might not be what Broomfielders want at the moment, though. So thank you.
That's a no. Okay.
Yes, it's a no.
That was a, just making sure. And just to clarify, so if there is support for this, it would be a study session, right? It wouldn't just be an ordinance, because many of the people expressing support want to study it, right? They want more information rather than just straight to ordinance. Is that what am I getting your intent right? Or, well, I'm hearing, let's study it. Let's see where it goes. I'm not hearing, let's do it now, right? There's kind of mixed support.
I mean, at this point, if that's what council wants to do, that is council's will. This
Right.
is not my decision to make as to whether or not I say yes to a study session or not. If this is what gets it done, then this is what gets it done.
Thank you. Sorry, Councilmember Lim.
I do support the study session on this. Would the study session include any review of mitigation efforts for drive-throughs versus complete elimination?
The more complex the study session, we want to be clear that if it is a yes, what exactly council is looking for so that we don't disappoint when we do bring it back. So if you're looking for a multitude of options, anytime you say mitigation, it's a deeper dive. So we just need to know council's expectations to help us with timing and staffing.
I don't understand the mitigation part.
Well, there could possibly be mitigation, like, multiple drive lanes, or, generally, if we have something come before us that's a drive-through, that it's gone through a review process that asks the question, have they looked at multiple drive lanes? Have they looked at, bringing things out to people who have parked instead of having them sit in the drive lane? Those would be examples.
That seems like
Is that it? But you're
different.
saying that's complicated.
that's
For-
more than just stopping it being used by right. Then that's a whole study session on how to deal with air quality issues and drive-throughs. So that's just kind of
It's expanding the scope.
expanding the scope of, and if that's what y'all want, then that needs to be clarified too, because now I'm kind of lost, right? I didn't write the notes of every person, like what you want this to look like moving forward. I want to see it move forward. I want to see where this goes, or I'd like to study it. That's really hard for me to count, right? Instead of do you support what he's proposing? Just yes or no, right? So now it's become more nuanced. And that's why these future action requests are never short. And so I think I guess I don't really know how to handle this. Other than, do you support what he's asking for? Because now it's becoming, it's evolving, it's growing into what other people want it to be.
And I'll simplify, then it if it complicates the request too much, then I'll just say I'll support the study session with the reservation that I will reserve judgment for whether I want it to go forward eventually. So, okay, thanks.
Okay, that helps. Thank you. Councilmember Leslie.
I oppose and I drive an EV, so I don't worry about damaging the environment through waiting for my milkshake. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So that is 5-5 and I'm a no. So we're going to move on to the next one. Next is council's consideration of Councilmember Ward's request for future action regarding requiring setbacks for gas stations from residential and sensitive businesses. Like before, this is not a discussion, but an opportunity for council to provide staff direction on whether or not to move forward with this request. Councilmember Ward, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. With this request, I'm really placing this under health and safety. While gas stations certainly are not like our oil and gas production facilities that currently are existing in Broomfield, gas stations still do emit harmful emissions such as benzene, as many of us know, is linked to cancers, including leukemia for children. And so I think it is important for us to establish a setback from sensitive places like, daycares, medical offices, residential units, et cetera. The kind of cursory research I was able to perform on this, along with my limited scientific knowledge on all of the mathematical calculations that go into determining the best setback, have come down to at least 500 feet away. But, I'm not going to necessarily require or propose that that be the case for this. I think there's also a bunch of other negative consequences that are associated with having gas stations next to residential in particular. You have lots of headlight activity, noise, people congregating, et cetera. And I think those are deterrents for an enjoyable community for residential areas specifically. So that is the short presentation, Mayor. I welcome questions.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions, comments? Councilmember Hinkle. Support. Oh, wait, I'm tallying, sorry. Forgot to do that. Old school, because we can't really vote on these, right? They're not really votes, so we could do that. Wow, that might be so, I didn't know we could do that. Oh my God, we don't have to deal with all this discussion stuff. Okay, good. We'll do it. Can we do it? Okay, y'all, are these questions?
No.
Okay, you just want to weigh in? Okay, let's set it up for a vote. Okay, good. So hold that thought. Can you undo your thing, Councilmember Cohen, or was it a question? Okay, not a question.
Quick question.
Okay, you can have a quick question.
Am I allowed a quick question?
Of course.
What is the current rules regarding gas stations?
Wow.
I know there's 1,000 feet between them or something, but what else is there?
Correct, at an intersection. So it's based on intersections, and you're correct, Councilmember Cohen. It's 1,000-foot setback from any other gas station at that intersection.
But that's the only regulation in terms of placement.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we are going, quick question. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Before we vote, I just want to put this out there and see what staff's thoughts are on this. I mean, thinking back to, and I appreciate that Councilmember Ward acknowledged that this was not the same as large scale oil and gas development, but we have spent years debating setbacks for large scale oil and gas development, and there is no definitive answer. So I actually did some research similar to what you were doing, looking for what is that distance. And I guess the question before we come to this whole discussion of setbacks for gas stations, does staff feel like they can bring forward information to say that this is a safe setback? Because that's my hang up. And it's not fair because you haven't even begun to look.
Our expert is saying no.
Right, okay, so then that's leading into my concern and why I will vote the way I do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we're going to go ahead and weigh in on support or not for this request for future action. Council members, please cast your votes. Councilmember Marsh Ocean, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right. So everybody's entered their vote, not really a vote, their thumbs up. And it looks like we have the thumbs up to move forward. That's 9 in favor, 1 opposed, correct? Okay, that one moves forward. And final item is Councilmember Ward's request for future action regarding a resolution relating to the Front Range Passenger Rail District and Regional Transportation District Joint Services. Councilmember Ward, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. For the final item that I have tonight, you all have received individually a letter that I have drafted, not only to you all, but it has been shared with other elected officials across the Northwest metro area, including all of the municipalities in Boulder County themselves, Adams County, Westminster, and Jefferson County. Front Range Passenger Rail, as we all know, might potentially go to the ballot in 2026, requesting funding for a paltry amount of service, with no guarantee that there are stations in Broomfield. This letter that you all have outlines 5 requests for our potential support in that ballot initiative, including a minimum number of 12 round trips a day. We get a station. RTD furthers completion of Northwest Rail with this. Money set aside for connecting bus services, and then zero emission vehicles are the choice for transportation units. And this is a request to formalize that into a resolution that will become a joint resolution between all of the communities in Boulder County, including Boulder County if they decide to adopt it, Adams County, Westminster, and Jefferson County. That joint resolution will then be sent off to the Front Range Passenger Rail Board of Directors, the RTD Board of Directors, the Governor's Office, CTIO, CDOT, and the House and Senate Transportation respective committees. That's it.
Thank you very much. This one I can get behind. Okay, so anybody have any questions for Councilmember Ward? Councilmember Marsh Holston.
Thank you, Mayor. We're not voting on a resolution tonight, obviously. This is just moving forward with the resolution, right?
Yes, this is just a request to have the resolution drafted.
Okay. All right, then I'm okay with it.
All right, so we're gonna do, we'll just take some quick questions first, and then we'll do that little vote again thing. Councilmember Cohen.
Under quick questions, why exactly do we need, I mean, would this go to another study session? That's the intent? Or what would this?
No, the intent of this is that the city and county attorney's office will draft the resolution, and then at the next available meeting, I don't know how quickly your office can get it turned around, but
Pretty quickly.
I assume the next business meeting, which is the 27th?
Not that one, the following one.
That one. That one is when the resolution will be voted on.
So this is just a vote to have Nancy write a letter, and then this will come back for us to decide how good your letter is.
The letter is already written by Councilmember Ward. So the resolution, I have the easier job of just drafting the resolution.
Okay. So we're just voting to put this on the agenda on June 3rd, basically, is all we're doing. Or is that what you said?
Which meeting? I'm looking at her.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Does that answer your query? Councilmember Henkel?
Thank you. I have supported most of this. There's just one issue that I might have with the requirement of how many times the stations are frequented, and it's just a fiscal thing for me. Is there any predictability on costs or a fiscal note with this, or is this sort of a visionary statement essentially from our region, asking for these demands?
Councilmember Ward?
I obviously do not get to do these financial calculations. The Front Range Passenger Rail Board of Directors has been doing an analysis on different scenarios. However, none of them have stacked up to 12 round trips a day from the beginning. If they have studied anything, it is up to 12 round trips a day by 2045. So no, I don't have a fiscal note for this, but there were two reasons that I picked 12 round trips a day. One being anything more than 10 is going to necessitate double tracking the entire line between Denver and Fort Collins. Double tracking would make it easier for RTD to complete Northwest Rail as promised, which in 2004, they pretty much promised 55 trains a day. And while I think 55 trains in the next 5 years is probably impractical, I do think getting something substantially closer to 55, maybe 25 to 30, would be a good starting place for them, and that would need to be accomplished through double tracking. And if they can share that cost with Front Range Passenger Rail, I think that's a win-win for both entities. Number two, if you want people to ride public transit, you have to provide them a frequent and reliable service. 3 round trips a day to start off with is not frequent, nor is it guaranteed to be reliable. And if our goal as a state and a metro region is to reduce vehicle miles traveled and greenhouse gas emissions, you need people out of their cars. To get people out of their cars, you have to get them in transit. And as I stated earlier, people ride transit when it is frequent and reliable.
Thank you. Councilmember Henkel, did you have anything further?
Not at this time. I just think it's a great vision and we can cast it and ask for it. And I think the funding will lie where it is. Thank you.
You, Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you. And I don't know if I even, that last information you provided was very helpful. And I think I just want to, I am not a fast tracks expert. I've been relying on Councilmember Ward for this. And I think we're kind of at a place where we either send the letter or we don't. And if we don't send the letter, then we're not putting our voice in there. Is that you're picking these requests because if we do nothing, they'll keep moving forward and potentially give us that service that you just discussed. And that is the purpose of the letter, even if the requests are not they could evolve over time, or what was the thought there? Because this is the request now and then we'll learn more, and then this isn't the end of I just feel like there should be like a comment in here that like we want to be engaged and involved, because as we learn more from them, we're going to learn more. So if there's an ability to add something in the letter there, that'd be great. But I support the general concept because I don't want what they're trying to provide right now. So if you want to respond to that or not, but thank you.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. Any other council member questions? I know that City and County of Broomfield residents have contributed more than $80 million to Fast Tracks, and we got nothing to show for it. So I do support this. Let's take a poll and vote on moving this resolution forward. All council members enter their vote. Councilmember Marsh Holston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. And all council members have entered their vote, their poll, and I'm hitting the no vote. So the results are it passes unanimously. Once it gets on the screen, it's on my screen. Take James off, see if it's there. James is on. It passes unanimously. So thank you very much for that. Perfect. Is there any other business to come before the council from my council colleagues or staff? There being no further business, the business meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Good night.